It doesn't look like much, but neither would a Sicilian defense to the untrained eye. This is a performance enhancer. You don't see it? How about now? Manage your air quality, sharpen your performance, change the game with Air Things.
Time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Move Trainer empowers you to go from the opening to the end game with confidence. It's a seamless, effective, and fun way to study chess. Choose from one of the largest online chess libraries in the world, with hundreds of titles ranging from classic books through to our exclusive Chessable courses, including over 100 free courses. Get expert insights from International Master John Bartholomew, Grandmaster Sam Shankland, International Master Christoph Sulecki, Grandmaster Simon Williams, World Champion Magnus Carlsen, and hundreds of other instructors. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts at chessable.com. Chessable, take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
Welcome everybody.
My name is Jan Pomnishi, former world chess champion.
Are starting a new course here for Chessable.
A very special Chessable course.
Master your chess with Judith Bolger.
You know what? I learned a lot.
This is John. John loves to study chess. This is David. David loves to study chess as well, but efficiently. John spends more time setting up the board and figuring out what's on the page of his book than he gets to study. David likes to take it easy and use his time wisely. David has finished his exercise for today. John should try the same.
Introducing WorldQuant, the partner of the Champions Chess Tour and Chess.com. WorldQuant is a global firm in the field of quantitative asset management. If you don't know what that is, it's the job of building complex mathematical models that seek to identify market inefficiency. For 2023, WorldQuant Brain is bringing together its International Quant Championship and the award-winning Champions Chess Tour to hunt down the next generation of quant finance specialists.
It sounds very exciting. You put your skills in practice in a case competition where you get a real challenge. And I signed up.
WorldQuant is seeking new talent and new energy, and it's looking at the world of chess to help. Because nobody knows how to analyze a position better than a chess player, right? No quant experience? No problem. So, do you think you have what it takes to compete in the International Quant Championship? Sign up and be the next quant champion.
It doesn't look like much, but neither would a Sicilian defense to the untrained eye. This is a performance enhancer. You don't see it. How about now? Manage your air quality, sharpen your performance, change the game with Air Things.
Hello and welcome to day 2 of the very exciting tournament going on right now. The Chessable Masters is back, and today we will finally start seeing people. I don't know why I'm starting with a negative. There's obviously a winner's bracket going on, but today marks the introduction of the loser's bracket. And how would you feel? Do you think it's properly named, Peter? Do you think it should be called loser's bracket? Those people aren't losers.
Hi, Peter. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here. Super excited. I perfectly agree with you that we have seen so much drama yesterday. The only thing was missing the players who are eliminated from the tournament. Now today we will have them. We had a debate. I remember chat and comments and so on were coming in, and they were not happy at all hearing this losers bracket and then seeing all those brilliant players. So yes, it's like a second chance or whatever. I mean, but they are great players and they are fighting for their lives.
That is true, but I think in particular because of the format, we will probably be paying a lot more attention to what's happening in the winners bracket. Of course, if any of the matches in the lower bracket become incredibly exciting, and with those matches only being 2 games long, as I understand the format, the likelihood of Armageddons, I think, grows quite a bit. And Armageddons are generally very fun to watch, so we will, of course, be keeping an eye on that. But I think the winners bracket will be our major focus. And I think of the 4 quarterfinals, the one I like the most on paper, so to speak, before they even began, is the one between Nodibek and Arjun Erigaisi. I think this is the one that promises the most, and the story of the second half of 2022, which I was very happy to share with you in a way because we were commenting on the Chennai Olympiad, was the story of this generation really coming into their own and really kind of announcing to the world that they're here and they're here to stay. And we see 2 of the major players in this generation playing each other.
Exactly. I mean, Chennai Olympiad, that was a stunning event. We had so much fun. And okay, if you just think back of this Gukesh Abdusatulov drama, we have never seen something like that. And the Uzbek team taking gold medal, and the Indian kids dominating also the Olympia, just a fantastic event. And I share your excitement. I mean, Nodirbek against Arjun, I think we should call it 50-50, right?
Yeah, I think it's very even. I think I wouldn't be able to pick a favorite. There is an additional kind of a storyline, which I think now that we have some time before the games actually begin to talk about it, we mentioned it briefly on air, I think, yesterday, but today I spoke to Satiris more at length about it, and I realized that we sort of undersold just how many of the participants of Division 2 are all in Berlin playing in the Armageddon series, which actually runs alongside this. So a bunch of them will be playing in both events today, and some of them played in both events yesterday as well. And Nodibek is one of them. Nodibek yesterday beat Vidit in the Armageddon series after beating Giri, I assume. So that was a good day. And since he won, he will continue playing today. So he is playing both events today as well. And it's not only him, it's also both Kramnik and Dubov are playing. And Yu Yang Yi, after losing to Kramnik, also played yesterday and ended up losing to Gukesh. Speaking of Gukesh. So there is, as Satiris absolutely correctly pointed out in our conversation, if something happens to the Wi-Fi in that particular Berlin hotel for like a minute, Division 2 is in big trouble. Is in
that's
big,
true.
big trouble.
Yeah, wow, yeah, that's it's Asia and Oceania, yeah, right? It's this section. Well, super exciting. I mean, Vladimir Kramnik still in action. Yesterday, he had shown some tremendous class there against the Chinese superstar Yu Yangyi, beating him, I think, very well deserved. There was a moment when Yu Yangyi managed to come back to the match, winning the game 3, but then Vladimir took home the match.
That was definitely one of the highlights. The way Vladimir played that match. He played very exciting chess and two very fighting knights with the black pieces. He won one and lost one. The one he lost, he made, I wanted to say an uncharacteristic mistake, but actually I want to say that this is something that he does do these days quite a bit. I think he goes for style things. He goes for decisions which I think he probably even himself knows are probably not the best, but which appeal to him from a purely stylistic point of view. And he definitely, I think, that cost him game 3, but he stormed back in and won a very nice Petrov in game 4 to win this match. And so far, the games that are appearing on my screen, let's click on something because there are games going on, but this is only the lower bracket for now. In the lower bracket, we have, I think the highlight has to be probably Anish playing against Raunak Sadvani, who is, we spoke about this yesterday, if not for the fact that, Gukesh, Prague, and Erigaisi exist, Sadvani would be an absolutely massive star. He is a very, very promising youngster playing against Anish. And we also have in the lower bracket Dubov playing against Meyer. And Dubov will later today be in action playing against Vladimir in Berlin, which is
wow,
kind of remarkable, really. We also have Dreyev against Tuan Min Le, where the H6 makes an appearance. Every time I see this, I still feel like, how can this be possible? But very serious people, Magnus included, have done this. So obviously it is possible. It's just so striking to me. And we have Chigayev playing against Yuenyi. But as I mentioned, we should be paying more attention to the winners bracket. And there, the game between Noribek and Arjun is finally starting.
And it's a Scotch.
It's a Scotch, yeah. And interesting that, I mean, these kids, they really play absolutely everything. So nothing is like a major surprise. But I don't think I've seen Noribek do much of that before.
Yeah, not at all. And he goes for the H4 line.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. That just showed this after Queen E7, Queen E2, Knight D5 instead of the usual and traditional C4 move. He included H4 first.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a typical Morozevich and Nyapko move, yeah?
Exactly. Yeah, I think it was very much introduced by Alexander Morozevich, and Jan picked it up, and Jan used it with reasonable success in a bunch of tournament games. But my impression was, and this is why I'm curious why Noribek is doing it, my impression was that against people who are reasonably well prepared, you're just not going to be very happy with the outcome of the opening. There's a number of things which I thought just give Black a very solid game, starting, I think, with the move Queen E6 in particular, just planning, because H4 is really not an oil painting in terms of your future structures. Just playing Queen E6 and replying to many things just by playing D6, E takes D6, Bishop takes D6, and saying, yes, in that endgame I will have the double pawns on the C file. But you're behind in development. You also played H4 for no reason. So explain to me why you're supposed to be better. But instead, Arjun goes F6, C4, Bishop A6. And another surprise for me is that after Bishop A6, I thought the idea was this kind of quirky stuff with Rook H3, followed by Rook A3, and so on, which becomes quite crazy. And I thought this was the point. But instead, Noribek goes for kind of a quiet endgame. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, well, I mean, it also surprises me because the endgame, yes, many times in the Scotch we see that White is benefiting thanks to his better pawn structure. On the other hand, White has now lost the tempo on H4. It's definitely a weakness. Black is incredibly active with castles, Rook A8, Knight E4, hitting the F2 pawn. I mean, so White will clearly probably go for some Knight C3, Knight A4, hitting that bishop, but then the bishop can move to D4. So it's not so easy to get rid of that monster bishop on C5.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. Yeah, in particular when it's sort of clearly a choice of Noribek's. It was he was sort of the first person to make a committal choice in the opening by going for the Scotch and going h4. And if I'm not mistaken, this is what people have been doing, right? There are some really crazy lines because we attack the bishop on a6, we force black to make some kind of an awkward move like knight b4, and then sometimes I think they played rook e3 here, followed by maybe trying to catch that knight with a3. Or am I completely hallucinating? Is it not here at all?
Well, I also have this rook h3, rook a3 in mind, but I don't know exactly if now that black haven't committed long castle yet. Is
maybe it's a bit too early. Yeah, my move order knowledge in the Scotch these days is very, very hazy, so I could be just spouting complete nonsense. Anyway, bishop c5, knight c3, as Peter expected, did happen. Black castled and white played bishop f4 here. c7 is sort of hanging, but I don't know if black is absolutely forced to care. I would still be very interested in playing rook a8.
Yeah.
Trying, after bishop takes c7, let's say knight e4 seems like, I don't know, I'd be kind of curious if I can play for advantage here with black. Maybe I'm overstating the case a little bit, but I would be very curious about this because like e2 is hanging, c4 is hanging, h4 is hanging, f2 is still under immense pressure. Hard to me to imagine how black can be worse here.
And rook a8 on the board, it's just such a natural move, and that's what we talked about, that all black's pieces are in the game already. White is missing at least a move to stabilize everything.
Yeah. I'm not sure what you're even supposed to play because knight e4 is a massive threat, but you can't really play bishop f3 because it drops a very healthy, very important pawn on c4. Bishop d3 really invites knight g4. For instance, there might be even stronger moves, but knight g4, bishop g3, and now, I mean, knight e5 is very nice, and there might be some other things. d7, d5 due to the pin might be very strong. So how do you even stop knight e4 here?
Yeah, it's a big question, and I think this question should be addressed to Nodirbek because he's responsible for everything that happened here so far with white.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, and because it's Nodirbek, I am sort of reserving judgment a little bit. But if I didn't know the names, I would just assume that black is sort of the better prepared player in this pair, and black is already perhaps dreaming of becoming a bit better.
Yeah, and it's a nightmare scenario with white to start a match like this. If it backfires, it will be very difficult to come back. So it's a critical moment. Nodirbek needs to take time. We know that he likes to play very quickly, but I think it's absolutely justifies that he slows down now and makes sure that he somehow navigates to some safety first.
Yeah, I mean, the line I was showing, maybe it's not that disastrous. Like we take, we go bishop d3. If you take on h4, that gives white time to finally sort of stabilize with the move b2, b3, and maybe it's not that bad. I was more worried about rook d4 because I thought winning this pawn is more valuable. But then after rook a d1, I mean, I still think black is completely fine. Don't get me wrong. But if we take on c4 twice, at least we pick up on d7.
Yes.
And I mean, the game continues.
But bishop takes f2 check. Be careful.
The game doesn't actually continue. Bishop f2 wins.
Yes.
Just wins because rook f2, rook c1. Yeah, that's a very nice spot.
Yeah, tricky. Just what you mentioned, that there is so much activity. I mean, the tactics should favor black.
Yeah. And then if we can't take on d7, I mean, I legitimately think black is... there's...
Maybe bishop d6.
Yeah, I missed bishop d6. Yeah, I thought, because let's say we make some kind of a slow move here, and black gets to play either rook d2 or d7, d5. I genuinely feel black is better, but bishop d6 probably does make a draw, because if white manages to simplify into a rook ending, that rook ending we will not lose with white. And looks like we're going to get a version of this.
But look at this. Hang on. The evolution bar is moving up a bit.
Yeah.
What is this? I mean, we would think like it's equality, but black is calling the shots and computer a little bit disagrees, but finally stabilized on equality.
Yeah, this is I started off without having the bar, and I was having such a grand time explaining my thoughts, and now my thoughts have all been proven to be completely worthless, as usual.
No, I think that all your words made perfect sense, because this is how we feel. It's another thing that chess is like this, that Sometimes objectivity overrules the emotions and the feelings, but we are super happy with black, that's for sure.
I think if I see this for the first time and I don't have access to the engine suggesting that white is in no trouble whatsoever, and in fact maybe you have to be a little bit careful, then yeah, I'm very, very happy about this. In other news, what do we have in the upper bracket? We have this game. We have the game between Denis Lazovic and Vincent Keimer, which seems like a heavily theoretical battle in a Catalan, which began by black playing bishop before check and a5, which is reasonably topical. Do you want to give a lecture on this? Because I have no idea.
Well, I mean, I can little bit explain something. Yeah, this d takes c4 bishop b4 check a5 is very fashionable, and a line which kind of puts some pressure on white. And the reason why Denis played the way he played, that this is a nice way to get a playable compensation position. So he's not trying to get that pawn back. He just went a3, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And after takes b5, he opted for b3. Yeah, you break the chain on the queen side. C takes b3 is kind of obligatory. I mean, let's just show that if black plays c3, then white has knight b1, picking up that pawn on c3.
Yeah, that's very important. Before bishop appears on b7, you can't really play b4 because you will not be able to recapture. Your rook on a8 is not protected. So yeah, that's why you play b3 this early. And then yeah, you get this position where it's interesting. Vincent declines to even protect the pawn on b5, which I didn't realize. I thought he did it only the next move, but I didn't realize he began here. And it's also kind of curious that white doesn't take. It's not obvious to me that it's so horrible that you absolutely cannot take. And you generally, I think, would want to take on b5 in a position like this.
Yeah, but then some bishop a6 tempo appears, putting pressure on the e2 pawn. So I understand also that in a rapid game, you don't want to be dealing with all these kind of things.
Yeah, so he goes castles. And now next move, he will not even be able to take because now e2 is hanging. That was sort of my point. But he, as you said, he is not really interested in specifically winning the pawn back. He is much more interested in playing for positional compensation. And generally, I think in these types of spots, you do at least start with full compensation. But you still have to play energetically, because if you at some point, take your eye off the ball and allow, let's say, bishop e8 and then c7, c5, black will just have a very healthy extra pawn eventually. So you have to play quite energetically.
Exactly. Yeah. There are also these ideas like regrouping that knight from e5 to d3 and then going to c5. But on the other hand, you don't want to move that knight from e5 yet. You would much more prefer to play something like queen b2, knight b3, knight c5. But the question is, do you have time for that?
Exactly. And I just want to, this is an interesting position, but I want to attract our viewers' attention and our attention as well to this game between MVL and Prague, in which Prague has just sacrificed a full piece and is playing quite quickly, quicker than MVL anyway. This was a classical open Spanish in which MVL played quite a rare line, I think. c3, bishop c2, bishop g4, and queen e1. People have been doing this a little bit recently, but generally it's not a very popular line. Knight c5, knight bg2, castle, knight e6. I'm sort of breezing through it because I want to get to that point where he sacrificed a piece. Queen e2 castles, rook e1, queen d7, all looks very logical and frankly looks kind of okay for black. Queen g3, g6, queen f1. And this is an interesting point because I think sort of MVL's entire previous play, I think, is centered around this idea. We provoke g6, and now we drop the queen back to f1, sidestepping all kinds of knight f4 tactics, and we are threatening to play h3, which will seemingly force black to take on f3 because we don't want to play bishop f5 and have to take with the pawn, right? And instead of allowing all of this, Prague just goes f6 here, h3, and just takes on h3. And after gh, fe5, knight e5, knight e5, rook e5, which is what the position is on the board right now, we have this incredibly sharp position in which black is almost a full piece down, but there is an open f-file, potentially a very weak pawn on f2. And white has this whole bunch of pieces on the queen side, which currently aren't really doing very much, I would say. So yeah, this is a very exciting position, which is kind of difficult to assess properly. And by the way, your tactic that you found earlier sort of happened in the game between Notibek and Arjun.
Wow.
We'll go back to this. This I think is generally the most interesting position of the round. But I want to point out that this is now the position in Notibek's game. It went slightly differently. After bishop d3, Notibek took on h4. And here, Arjun took on h4. And Notibek, I guess he blundered exactly that thing that I blundered earlier. Because you can play b3, and maybe you're slightly worse, but it should be a draw. Instead, he played rook d1, and he played rook d7.
Wow.
And then he was hit with bishop f2, and luckily for him, he has bishop b5, otherwise he would just have to resign, basically. But after bishop b5, yes, probably the pawn on g7 has to be given up, but the position remains borderline lost for white.
Yeah, probably, but I agree that he was very lucky to have this bishop e5. If he had missed bishop f2, and then he gets a chance to play bishop e5, that's already...
Yeah, and this is the point. Yeah, you can't really safely play rook f7 because after check and back to d7, you still have the same problem that you need to solve. I mean, it's a solvable problem. Eventually, you play something like rook f5, which is what he did from a... He didn't repeat, he played it immediately, but you play something like rook f5 and you stabilize, and you are a full exchange up pretty much.
Yeah, now the point is that if bishop takes g7, then we play rook f7. Thank you very much. If white takes rook takes g7 check, we go king f8. The bishop has to move, and then we will have rook f7 covering the 7th. Right?
Yeah, at least rook f7 and maybe even something stronger. Yeah, because rook f7 drops the a7 pawn, and I would like to preserve it, so we can think about rook d5 or rook c4 or something.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
yeah, and but I think that we should go back to that open Spanish because that's the more interesting position. And after quite a long thought, Prag goes with knight f4, and I was trying to see what was potentially wrong with bishop c5, and I think I know why he didn't play it. I think he realized this exists, and he became very confused is maybe the wrong word, but worried about this because e6 is hanging, c5 is also hanging because the knight on e6 is pinned. If you go rook takes f2, white can just go bishop e6, queen e6, and rook e6, and this rook does not have good ways to make a discovered check, so you just end up being a full rook down. And I think he probably just sort of didn't find anything here and stopped. And the Heartless engine suggests you can just play king g7, postponing your decision for a move, asking white to take on e6 with something. And if you take with the bishop here, now we can play bishop takes f2. The big difference is if you take with the queen, I have queen d1 check, which wasn't available earlier because the bishop was controlling it. And if you play something like king g2 or king h1, we have queen d6, rook takes e4, and let's say rook a8. And the attack continues. I don't know how this ends, but it definitely looks very scary for white because white is still playing sort of virtually a full queen down because these pieces are not really participating in the defense at all.
Yeah, king g7 is a brutally strong and calm move. It's so easy to miss or to underestimate.
Yeah, extremely easy not to realize how strong this is because it seems like you're supposed to make every single move forward. And here you're just saying, yes, I'm losing a full piece. Please take it. Please find a comfortable way to take it. But there is no comfortable way to take it. Instead, he played knight f4, which the engine appears to disagree with. But once again, for reasons which I think are potentially very difficult to find.
I'm trying to find the move for white first.
Yeah, I think it goes rook e3, but then you have to ask yourself
bishop
what's
c5.
the reply to bishop c5. But yeah, it just goes rook f3. And I think it's a massive improvement for white here that you get the rook to this square because it covers all of the vulnerabilities that the white position has. It's just doing a fantastic job protecting the entire king side. And now
Maxim
we want
has
to play
gone
knight
for rook
b3.
e3. Yeah, he has played it.
Yeah, and now that we've covered everything on the king side, we want to start developing our queen side. And the ideas of both knight b3 and knight e4 attacking the bishop and also the knight on f4 are extremely strong. And one final game in the winner's bracket that we haven't spoken of yet at all is the game between Aparian and Kramnik, which is a heavily once again a game where you probably know everything. I don't, and I know nothing at all. A kind of a classical Meran, which became incredibly sharp. They played a line which I have a feeling there were some Shirov games, right? In the mid 90s in this position. Something with like c6, c5, dropping the pawn on b5, and some incredibly detailed theory. But
there are millions of nuances that ace to a5 are included or not, and everything changes the evaluation. Yeah, you really have to be a super expert and absolutely focused into all these lines to know exactly all the details.
Yeah, and Vlad is showing some very, very interesting ideas here. He played after h3, he played b4 and then bishop d4, trying to play c5. Aparian played e5 here. An interesting idea, which maybe I wouldn't have expected, but the point obviously is just to lock in the bishop on b7, make sure c7, c6, c5 never happens, and then just play for positional compensation. Just try to play maybe against the pawn on b4. And Vlad replies to e5 with queen d5, which is a remarkable move. Just leaving the bishop, the knight on f6 unprise, but making sure that we get to play c6, c5. And now this battery, due to the fact that the f2 pawn is pinned, will cost white a piece back. So white has to give it up. Pretty much has to play bishop e3 because dealing with this monster on d4 is required. And we get this very sharp, very interesting endgame, a3, a5. a5 seems like a blunder because look at this fantastic fork, right? But you have c3 here. And Vladimir is so far playing seemingly flawlessly. And the threat of b3, b2 seems to be compensating for the fact that two of our rooks are hanging.
Yeah, it looks super dangerous. And look at this, knight a4 was played and rook a6. The rook is joining the battle to g6.
Yeah, and apparently knight a4 was a massive mistake, and black is just better here, which, I mean, it looks nice for black, but I wouldn't have expected black to be so much better. But it's just, rook g6 is a strong threat, and I thought, okay, I will play like rook d1, rook d2, or rook f1, rook f2, and I guess the problem is, if you do that, you lose this pawn, and then the rook lands on c2, and this spells disaster for white. He's gone rook d1, and now we can start, let's say, we can play rook g6, provoke rook d2, and play rook c4 here, and the white position starts falling apart. He began by playing rook c4 first, which is a bit surprising. I guess he just wants to win a piece, right? Which also looks kind of promising, I have to say.
Promising, yeah. I mean, okay, but the position looks so dangerous for white that maybe white does not mind it so much, but it looks bad.
Yeah, because here you can definitely imagine, like in particular, if you find a way somehow to get rid of the entire queen side, let's say all of these guys disappear, and you're left with rook, bishop, and the pawn on f7, against rook and these two guys. I'm not sure how easy that is to win. It probably is winning, but I don't know if it's trivially winning or not.
Yeah, the thing I'm mostly worried for white is that some bishop c2, a5, a4, bishop b3 construction can just stabilize that pawn, and then you activate the rook, and white's pawns are just too weak.
Yeah, the way you lose this is exactly as you're describing. a5 survives, goes to a4, and then the rook just ignores all the other guys and just picks up the pawn on a3, and then the pawn on a4 just wins because white has, you know, fewer pieces to fight. Very simply, black just has an extra piece in a struggle. So Vlad is beginning very, very impressively once again. He is. I'm guessing on the verge of winning his first game with black, which would be, of course, a massive first step towards winning the entire match.
Yeah, and very impressive. I mean, extremely sharp openings. Yeah, we have seen yesterday the knight off with the black pieces. I mean, Vlad is taking this event extremely seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't play chess very often, but when he does, I don't think he is capable of not taking it seriously. And when he is taking chess seriously, he is still an unbelievably dangerous opponent for anybody in the world. So I'm not at all shocked that he's doing well here. In the meantime, Prague, after some thought, played queen e7 here, aiming at those types of squares, also perhaps aiming to play knight e2 check maybe in some positions. But those threats don't feel like they are enough. I'm also wondering, can I not play knight e4? The machine says it's not great, but
why? Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we start by taking, and then like
somewhere
you can play,
yeah. Also.
Yeah, like you can start maybe by checking and then going queen somewhere, but maybe checking actually runs into queen g2. Yeah. So queen g5 probably is a mistake, but you can play.
I mean, maybe takes, look f8 first.
Yeah, and then e3, or some kind of a move like this, maybe with some queen g3 check tricks if that happens.
Yeah, this actually is very good. Yeah.
It's still a very strange position, but MVL correctly assesses that he doesn't need to hurry. He just goes king h1 first.
Yeah.
Says, now that my rook is on f3 and you made this kind of a quietish move queen e7, I don't have to solve all of my problems at once. I can just start consolidating by improving my position and moving the king away from all of those threats is very sensible.
Yeah, and stepping out of knight e2 check, yeah, knight b3 is already a big threat. Yeah, that's
that as well, absolutely.
I wanted to put the knight on e2 with black, but it might run into some simply bishop d3 kicking that knight away.
Yeah, I think you're probably just now that the king is safely on h1, we just ask black, why did you play this?
Yes. But if you don't play it, you also don't have a move.
You don't, like you rook a8 doesn't really do very much, and then maybe knight e4 becomes very strong, because with the king on h1, all of the lines we were just showing are going to be a lot easier to handle for white. So, yeah, seems like Prague, I don't know if that was his prep, because he was playing quite quickly, but seems like he got to a position which he correctly assessed was playable for him. But the calculations here are genuinely very difficult for a rapid game. And he made one mistake here, playing knight f4 instead of bishop c5. And he might not be able to recover from it, frankly. The position now looks like it's convertible if MVL plays accurately.
Yeah, and MVL is, of course, famous for being extremely good in all these complications.
Yeah. Elsewhere, we have this game. White, this is about as good as you could have gotten for Noribek. You still have the bishop on the long diagonal. You still haven't lost any of your pawns, but eventually something bad will happen to your position. It's very difficult to imagine that this kind of a setup doesn't eventually get taken apart. It will take Arjun some precision, of course, to actually win this, because this kind of a setup, like you play a3, you keep the rook on the third, you keep the bishop on c3, and you try as hard as you can not to allow the rook trade, because if the rooks come off, you basically can resign. But as long as the rooks are still on the board, there is still some work to be done.
Yeah, white played the move g3, so black played king f7, stopping white rook to enter anywhere, like rook e6 check. White secured with g3, and now the point is if rook f5 to f2, then white is running up with his king with king h4.
Yeah, it doesn't really do very much. Allowing it to get to g5 doesn't seem very logical. And just briefly to visit the other positions, Denis Lazavik is doing quite well against Vincent. The position sort of stabilized. As you can see, there was a pawn on d4 and a pawn on e6. Those are no longer on the board. And it seems like black has this fantastic majority on the queen side, but it's completely blocked. And the knight on b8 still does not have any squares. But on the other hand, white still needs to show how, he is planning to break this open.
Yeah, it's a typical compensation position, but yeah, proving advantage is always very tough.
Yeah, it seems like it should probably be defensible for black, but white is also not struggling here by any means. And Kramnik and Aparin, they actually traded the rooks, and the pawn on e3 is still alive. And this becomes very much a tempo game, but it becomes a kind of a tempo game where it feels like black should be in time, right?
Yeah, the king is coming too fast.
Yeah.
And by the way, how do you protect the d5 pawn?
No, I think it falls. I think you're supposed to try to immediately generate some activity on the queen side. Like you go, I don't know, g4, h4 here.
But now I can even just switch side and go king e5, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it should be technically...
So maybe we go like king f4. But
yeah,
at this point, this looks like it might just be fast enough. And also, you can always play bishop h7 just to make sure. The one problem you can run into is like you do this, and then suddenly your bishop is disconnected from the h7 square, and the h-pawn just runs. And this might genuinely become a problem for black. But of course, you always have the option of just putting the bishop on h7 and then going after the a-pawn. And this slows down the white promotion to such an extent that, yeah, it's difficult to believe this is not winning. And we're seeing something like that actually in the game.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Basically, knowing that it's Vladimir Kramnik in my mind, it's already 0-1.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, it would be difficult for me to imagine him not winning this. It's not even that complicated. As long as you don't blunder e4, sort of exactly that one motif that I was describing just now. As long as you realize you should not blunder that, you should win. MVL is consolidating. As you can see, he didn't play bishop d3, he played bishop d1, which is a very similar move. And slowly but surely his pieces are coming out. Position still looks a little bit awkward. The pieces still aren't very well coordinated, but there's just more of them. So yeah, it looks like he should be getting this done.
Frog is also down to 14 seconds on the clock. Not that the clock isn't his biggest enemy here, but still it will not help.
Yeah, I think this one is more or less on the books. Well, this one is heating up. So after rook cd1, which is where we left it, bishop d5 happened, which is a very solid move, trying to open all of those rooks on the c file. And of course, Denis says not interested. And now the knight on b8 really is completely stalemated. But the same question remains: how do you make progress? And Denis just goes all out, pushing his pawns, and so does Vincent. Yeah, and this is becoming very, very concrete. And they don't have very much time either.
Yeah, equal times. Now white opted for f5, g takes h4, knight e6.
Yeah, queen takes e7 is not a threat yet, I guess, which means that the biggest threat white has is probably rook d8.
But queen g4, I mean, can't we not?
Exactly, yeah. I'm trying to figure out what happens if we do this.
It's on the board.
And that's what he played, yeah. Yeah, this is going to be a difficult position to play well on a minute. Let's make no mistake about it.
Yeah, how do you protect this g3 pawn? I mean, you have to put a rook on the third, or?
Yeah. I need to like stick a piece of tape on my screen. Because I know the answer and you're not going to like it.
Oh, wow, rook d8 played.
Yeah, rook d8 played. The answer apparently is this move, which just creating the g2 square for for the rook. Instead, he played rook d8, queen takes g3. This is still fine, because black after king h1 or king f1 seems like does not have more than the perpetual, because the threat of queen takes e7 is way too strong.
But in general, I also feel the way how the game went, black should be probably quite happy with the draw.
Yeah, I think so. And in the meantime, looks like Nordebek is likely to escape with his misadventures. Hang on a second. There's a lot of stuff going on everywhere. I'm just kind of struggling. Let's just say MVL will definitely win. Is this still winning? Probably is, yeah. Probably is. Because it actually has become a bit sharper, because without the f-pawn on the board, let's say you play h5, king b3, I play king f4 here. Yeah, now the e-pawn runs and you don't actually win. But you have Zugzwangs, and this is what
I
Vlad
think
is doing.
you play for king d3.
Yeah, exactly. He played king d3, h5, bishop h7, and the problem for white is you will eventually run into Zugzwangs. You'll have to give up on e3. And this bishop is on exactly the diagonal that it needs to be, so that when you take on a3, the white king cannot get to a1. This is the most important thing in this position, and it actually works out perfectly for Vladi, because obviously, even if you lose all three of your pawns here with white, but your king gets to a1, this is the wrong bishop. This would be a draw. But the king doesn't get to a1, because the bishop always controls the all-important c2 and b1 squared.
Yeah, but look at this. Vincent lost his queen. What happened there? Did he blunder something?
Yeah, something went wrong. So after king f1, instead of continuing to give checks, which seems logical.
It is knight f8 check. Oh my god, king h7, knight f8.
You know, that was still okay. But yeah, okay, it's okay for a reason you can't really figure out. You can play king h8 here, apparently. Knight g6, king h7. And this is still a perpetual, sort of. But yeah, I don't think it's possible to do that on 10 seconds. He played king g7, and now after rook g2, he is probably losing. King f8, rook g3, rook d8, and hang on, the game disappeared, I guess. Oh no, it hasn't.
Yeah. Okay, it's basically lost.
Yeah, so rook g7, rook d8. Yeah, you're just losing here. He's lucky he didn't get mated immediately, but he had to give up his knight, and white definitely has enough here. There's no way this is not enough. And the last game still running, if we're not counting this in the upper bracket round 1, is this endgame between Arjun and Nordebek, where Nordebek should be making a draw now.
Yeah, this is, I think, a very easy draw. Because the bishop on f4 protects the only weakness, and I had this endgame, I think 2 versus 2 was also completely drawn. I mean, it was just unbelievable that I never even managed to get any chances.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question. If we remove a pair of rooks, but the white king is still active on g5, this is probably also a reasonably easy draw, right?
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, should be like it. So it's actually kind of difficult to lose, because you can even afford to allow rook trades.
Well, you shouldn't blunder anything. That's the key issue.
Yeah. That is where what it hinges on is you not missing some kind of a check from behind somewhere and dropping a bishop. Or now we see that exact position that we were talking about, where
now bishop g5, bishop h4 makes the draw.
Exactly, yeah, that's just a draw. That is just a draw. So the first round will then conclude with Lazovic beating Vincent, MVL beating Prague, and Kramnik beating Aparin, and this should be a very, very, I don't know why it's even being played out necessarily, because white is just not worse, honestly. Like you can't even really touch these pieces. Like if you can manage to give a check from h1 and then go king g6, maybe you're pressing a little bit. But I would have been taking on g5 a long time ago. But I think it's finally over.
Yes, it was more out of frustration he played, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. And let me open the lower bracket as well, because we want to update our viewers on what's happening with that. In the lower bracket, I saw some games finish, but let's start putting up things on the screen. Prague is white against MVL. He is Not in a proper must-win situation yet, but obviously would like to win here, having lost the first one. Whoa. Do we know anything? Oh, no, sorry. I thought it was white to move for some reason. Why is there a pawn on h3? I become more and more like an old guy yelling at clouds every day. Why is there a pawn on h3 in my opening?
Well, because on the fifth move I played h3. Yeah.
Serious, like I'm just, I'm doing my best startled deer expression every moment. Like I look at some position and there's h3 in this opening, which is very confusing to me. But what they finally got is kind of a normal looking Isolani type position, which will become slightly better for white if you fully consolidate, I guess, right?
Yeah,
but
and the point of having the pawn on h6 is that you stop bishop g4.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. So this is Vincent's game in round 2. Kramnik is playing a heavily theoretical Gioco Piano against Grigoria Parin. Knight f1 chosen here. Knight c4 was also playable, but he chose knight f1. And what else do we have? That game is, I wanted to say, an absolutely crazy looking Ragozin / Nimzo mix, but these days, like every second Ragozin looks like this. It's no longer very crazy. It seems like people just accepted that this is what their positions will look like. And this particular one was via this move order, seemingly a classical Queen's Gambit declined. And then bishop g5 was met with bishop b4, switching back to Ragozin-ish type positions, but with knight on g1, which is a massive difference. Of course, the knight isn't on f3 yet.
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago, like let's go back to 2018-19. If somebody asked that this will be mainstream, people would have answered, no, this is definitely not. It's not Ragozin. As you mentioned, knight on g1 is so much better than knight on f3. And then suddenly, 3-4 years later, it's mainstream theory and black is actually playing it on regular basis. It's not anymore a surprise weapon or whatever. It's just a mainstream and a very healthy, aggressive opening.
Yeah, absolutely. So 94, 92, this is why we're saying that this is a major difference between this and the Ragozin. The existence of this option in every single line makes a massive, massive difference. h5, h3, knight c6, allowing the bishop to escape. Bishop h2, queen f6, f3, not blundering mate in 1, very important. Takes bishop f5, and bishop b5 played. Are we actually entertaining ideas of castling kingside here? Probably we are, yeah?
Probably, yeah.
In some positions at least, yeah.
Black is probably gonna opt for long castle, I guess, but it's razor sharp, yeah. White will also have his look c1, queen a4 ideas, but first you have to also evacuate your king.
Yeah, and white still preserves a decent amount of flexibility here as well, because you could still imagine white playing queen b3 and then castling queenside if you wanted to, but no, he's gone kingside. Black castled here, white castled kingside, and black played bishop d6. Trying to deal with that bishop on h2, which was looking quite ominous.
Yeah, and the bishop on b4 was also kind of awkward piece, not doing that much.
Yeah. Still an incredibly sharp position, because, for instance, we can, let's say, take and play queen a4, and there is no way to react to it safely. Like you will have to, in some fashion, accept that your pawns on the c file will get doubled, but you have those types of counterplay. Maybe even bishop takes h3 in some positions because you have queen g3 check.
Yeah.
So it's still a huge mess. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, chess has become so intensive. I mean, just incredible. Yeah, that basically what we are also seeing here in many of the openings, that the black players does not want to give white any freedom. Yeah, that they want to insist to put the pressure as quickly as possible, so that if you want to play principle, then you have to make very clear decisions. You just can't enjoy a nice little advantage and then slowly building up.
Not anymore, yeah.
Yeah.
And a very, very on point comment in chat from a friend of mine who says, Peter is complaining about the pawn on h3 when everybody knows it has to be on h4. And it really is like these days, you do feel like it, right? You feel like if the h-pawn is touched at all, it is touched with the intention of putting it on h6, not on h3, you know, like it goes h4, h5, h6. And then we think. But not in this particular game. And a very kind of an interesting decision here by Arjun, who took on d6 and then absolutely voluntarily just took on c6 immediately and played rook c1. Unexpected, I would say, because you are making your own attack on the queen side slower, I would suggest, by doing this. And also now black, like if nothing happens here for the next, I don't know, 5 moves, black is just structurally doing quite well.
Yeah,
Bishop against knight, yeah. I mean, why?
I also don't like this choice, and it also seems to give black very easy life. Yeah, no pressure at all.
Yeah, I mean, you can waste a tempo, like waste, not really waste, but you can spend a tempo on king b8 even there are no threats. e4 is not being threatened, and it feels pretty safe.
Yeah, king b8 played.
Yeah, king b8, you want probably the queen on e6 to reinforce ideas of g4. You can include rook h8 if you want. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this, but I guess he felt like he needed some stability, even at the cost of maybe spending some time on non-optimal things. Queen b3 played. Is knight b5 a threat? Is it enough of a threat?
Well,
I guess if black does nothing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least you have to deal with, yeah.
Yeah, but obviously black is not going to pass here. Like so the choices are we can move the queen away, or maybe we can even go rook h8, because if you play knight b5 here, I will have queen b6. And you don't have a comfortable way of taking on c7, which doesn't cost you the e3 pawn in reply. Because if you take with the rook, I think that probably loses material to a6. And then everything is hanging. And if you take with the knight, I have enough time to... Oops, sorry, that's a misclick, of course. You have enough time to do this, and white is once again not doing all that hot. And just to update our viewers on what's going on in the lower bracket, because we're not really covering those games as yet. There's plenty of action to occupy us in the upper bracket. 2 winners in game 1. Dubov beat Georg Mayer, and Dreyev beat Tuan Lei. And draws in the games between Chigaev and Yuan Yi and Giri Sadvani. And games 2 are in progress right now. So this is the position here, and Noribek is thinking. Vincent is now, for some reason, a healthy pawn up.
Well, the power of h3.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but it's still a curious decision, because it wasn't a blunder. It was very clearly a positional sacrifice by Dennis, who just went d5, d4 here, which would have been a fantastic move if not for the fact that knight a4 exists. Dogo. Abaydi. Knight a4 exists, and then you have to go with the bishop somewhere. I mean, probably b6 doesn't look like it's a good move. And then you just drop the central pawn. So I guess he did this to establish, although, like, if your next moves are h6 and a6, I'm beginning to wonder if it was a blunder, maybe. Because this feels strange.
Yeah, he might have been confused. Yeah, that, okay, he knew that knight d2, bishop b2 is a big positional threat, and then you're going to suffer for the rest of the game, and in rapid play, it might be very unpleasant to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to create, yeah, he might have missed knight a4, but in any case, maybe he also felt like he will get some kind of compensation.
Yeah. Because what you normally do is you play a6, bishop a7, and then you think, right? But you know, running the risks of boring our audience a little bit, the usual position, and you sort of referred to it earlier here, and this is why you play h3, Like if we want to show our viewers what the usual position here would look like, it comes from different move orders, but the kind of a normal position here looks something like this, right?
Yes.
This is a very, very well-known idea which people have been debating for years and years and years. And the major difference between this and what we have in the game is that the bishop is on d3, not e2. And the pawn on h3, as you said, very importantly, stops bishop g4 completely. So if you play a6, bishop a7, and white goes, I don't know, let's say
92
or something, yeah. Your counterplay here, your normal counterplay would very much be connected with the fact that you already have a bishop on g4. And not only do you not have it on g4, you will never have it on g4. So I think it's quite possible for you to become worried about having to play a position like this and deciding to just change the nature of the game very dramatically. But it costs you a full central pawn. I don't know if I like it.
But now he got way too much activity. I don't think that Vincent should have let this bishop f5 happen, for example.
Yeah, this feels like he got a little bit too much. Yeah, a3 just now played, and I mean knight c2 might be a good move. But even if you go knight d5, exactly. Even if you just play, you say I'm not even interested in trying to win something back immediately. I'm just playing for positional compensation.
Okay, we probably have to take and go knight e5 followed by bishop f3.
Yeah, so this is what we would try to achieve. But then you get all
G5,
kinds of, let's say queen g5, bishop f3, knight f4.
Knight f4, yeah. And
it suddenly starts looking very threatening, right? All kinds of ideas.
Yes.
All kinds of ideas.
I wonder that, why Vincent let this happen. But okay, he opted for knight e5 immediately. He did not take on d5.
Yeah. It's not really, like, I think I can get the same position now, right? I can play knight c3, knight d5.
But then I'm going to go bishop d2.
Ah, you are just giving up this pawn not to allow any of this,
exactly.
Yeah? Just touch.
I don't like to be mated, so I prefer to be little better,
that's
but not...
very understandable.
Yeah, and Vincent understood the dangers, so he opted for knight e5, and this case, he keeps the control of the game.
Yeah, I think this is a better choice in practical terms for sure. And black maybe should actually address it somehow and not allow white to stabilize so easily. But I'm not entirely sure how. Do we throw in rook c8? But then maybe bishop c4 becomes a move, yeah?
Yeah, it's a big question if you can do that or not. One could argue that on the other hand, we were speculating, did black blunder that pawn or sacrifice it? If he doesn't feel comfortable, then okay, he takes back the pawn and then he...
Yeah. No, I think but by this point, you have to describe this pawn sacrifice as a success. Because if you compare this position with, like, specifically this position, in particular, if, let's say, the black player is not very confident playing kind of classical isolanies, where you will just have to defend for the next, I don't know, 30 moves. I think he is quite happy that he gets to play a position with piece activity, a position where he can sort of calculate his way to some kinds of equalities, hopefully. And in the end, he does do what we expected. And yeah, I'm very much also, just as you were saying, I'm very much in favor of completely forgetting about this pawn on d4 and just going bishop d2 here. Bishop b2, I think, is just straight up incorrect. Also, in terms of not allowing your young opponent to get the kind of a position that he quite clearly wants to get, I think Dennis will be a lot less happy. I'm kind of struggling with my beastie, who doesn't want to let me cast. Clearly, some kind of a position like this, let's say Dennis just takes on e5 twice, we go rook e1, we go bishop f1. It's not much, but it's a pleasant little position for white, which you can definitely imagine becoming becoming better for white if black doesn't play very carefully. Whoa, okay.
Wow, bishop b2.
Surprised by this.
Yeah.
Surprised by this.
This
hasn't been a very easy match for Vincent so far, I have to say.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all, yeah.
Yeah, and this is once again returning to what we were discussing yesterday. I think Denis Lazovic is not nearly as well known as the other 7 players in the quarterfinals today. But every time every time we watch him play, the only question we have is, why is he not higher rated? How is he rated? What he is in FIDE, like in terms of FIDE ratings. Why is his rating still, I think, 2550 or something, right? He seems like a much stronger player than that.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, and Knight f4 played very understandably. Yeah, this could become dangerous for white. I think this has the potential of turning maybe even in black's favor if you're not very careful.
I mean, okay, maybe we have to play bishop g4, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Queen g5.
Queen g5, queen f3. Can I play like this?
Queen f3. Yeah, queen f3. I was also thinking maybe it's time to kind of really pull on the brake and go bishop c1 here. Try to... Yeah, bishop g4 on the board. I like this at least. Yeah, Vincent realizing that you have to pay attention.
Yeah, the only thing is that he lost the first game, yeah? So he also feels like he wants to keep a chance to play for a win. He's willing to take risks. He definitely understands that black has very dangerous counterplay, but
yeah, and we have to acknowledge a massive raid from Yanistan TV, and welcome to all of Jan's viewers. Whenever I feel any kind of a connection to Jan, it warms the core. Thanks for the raid. Welcome to all the Yanistan people.
Yeah, I think Jan is busy himself commentating in Berlin.
Yeah, I think he's actually doing commentary on the Armageddon, which is maybe why he finished the stream, because it's time for him to prepare for his other duties, and he is a busy man, and deservedly so. Whoever has a chance of employing Gusti should employ him. Would be my considered opinion.
Yeah, I also feel like anything else would be a mistake.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like, I mean, you obviously can decide not to, but that would be wrong and incorrect and unwise. But apart from that, yes, it's a possibility. Meanwhile, in the Kramnik-Aparin game, we have a really weird position where what used to be a very quietish looking Italian became some kind of a massive mess, where after e5, knight f5, Vlad played d5, knight takes g3 is forced. Now there's for some reason a passer on e6. And this is, I want to say something, like, what's your first thought when you see this position, in particular when it's Kramnik playing white?
I mean, the bayonet attack in Indian.
Like, he's getting his bayonet positions everywhere somehow.
But the bishop is on b6, not on g7 this time.
Yeah, like, he's not even playing 1d4, and he's still getting his bayonets. It's amazing. Like, he just gets them. Knight f6, queen e2, and here Grigoriy Aparin made a kind of an interesting decision playing e4, because he could have continued preserving this type of tension somehow, but he chose to make sure that the knight can return. But this comes at the cost of giving white a second pawn to support the one on e6. And this is the position now. Bishop f4 was played, c6 and queen e2. I guess Vladimir is trying to pick up the pawn on d6, but what happens here? Let's say we do this, e7, we play, I don't know, queen c6, queen e6 somewhere. Let's say queen c6.
Yeah, bishop has to retreat to a3.
Yeah, can we try chasing it down?
And rook c1.
You have rook c1 and you have bishop c5, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a mess, yeah. It's still a mess, because obviously if you remove the pawn from e7, black is doing fantastically well, but it's still somehow staying alive there.
Now black can also push d4, d5, I mean d4, d3.
Yeah, we're way too Actually, maybe we're getting there faster than I thought, so it might be relevant. CD5 on the board. CD5 on the board. Briefly, there is just too much going on, but there's the kind of a classical Nimzo game going on between Prague and MVL seems to be going in sort of in MVL's favor. They got here, and Prague went with a very, very direct plan of playing d5 and immediately playing f4 here, which I'm not a huge fan of. What do you think?
Well, it all depends if Black will be able to blockade on e5 or not. If he will, then I don't like it.
Yes, he has gone takes, knight g4, and now if you allow knight g6, you're sort of strategically lost, I would say. Maybe it's a bit harsh, but not very harsh. It really does feel like you're in trouble. So, of course, Prague at least makes sure that there is no piece on e5, it's a pawn. But now you get, yeah, I can't draw arrows, but you get my point. And this type of maneuver did happen. And once you see this position, like the only question is whether Black can actually make enough progress, right? If Black can create some kind of a break in the center with g6 and f5 to be better, because there is no way White will ever be better here. If Black just goes, I don't know, f6, g6, king, g7, and chills for the next 50 moves, you will never, do anything against that. But MVL wants to be ambitious. He always does want to be ambitious. So he's gone for a very direct plan of blowing everything in the center up. And this is the current position.
Looking very promising for Black. Yeah, this.
Yeah. He played
and now
h5.
This is getting a Grunfeld touch, no? This position.
Yeah. And looks like he's just winning, yeah, because after h5, I think Prague needed to be very careful. He needed maybe to start offering some piece trades, but he played queen takes c5, which is just a massive blunder. Knight e4, and now you can't take with the rook because h4 just kind of wins a piece. He took with the knight, but now queen f4 check forces you to play g3 because otherwise you lose this knight. And then just very simply queen takes f5. This is hanging, this is hanging. This is just a disaster for Prague. So yeah, MVL is firmly in control in their match because he won game 1 and is now close to winning game 2, and he will only need 1 draw in the last 2 to progress further. And chat says to us that there was a blunder in Vincent's game. Yeah, this is something went kind of badly wrong here. After queen g5, he did play queen f3. Black took on g4.
Now instead of taking queen g4, Vincent took with the pawn.
Yeah, I think this is heavily influenced by the fact that he lost game 1.
Yeah.
I think this is massively influenced by that because HG just looks incredibly dangerous because after HG f6, but the big mistake came actually next move. You could still play g3 here. Fe5, and you can even do this apparently. Can you do this as well? Even this honestly doesn't. Oh, this h5 comes too fast. Yeah, I thought maybe I can stabilize with king g2, rook h1, rook h5, but I'm not in time. But d5 was still working. But he played knight c4, knight e2, king h1.
No, because he blundered this incredible stunning h5 move.
Yeah. I think he probably thought he has a tempo here because d6 is hanging, yeah? d6 is hanging, and if he does get to make a move here, he goes rook a1, and he smokes this guy away and gets to play, I don't know, g3, king g2 or something. But instead he got hit with h5. If you take on d6, you get mated along the h file because this.
But what happens after g takes h5? How I'm getting mated?
I think this is how. I think this is
how.
Rook
e4.
Yeah, it's very, very easy to miss. I think if this is what you lose to, I think you can definitely understand deciding that hg4 works and knight c4 because this is very, very non-obvious. One piece is already hanging, so you throw in this move, and then you throw in rook e4, creating a threat of rook h4, and if queen e4, of course, queen h5 now is...
Yeah, I have seen the move rook e4, but I was so focused on queen h4 check that queen takes h5 was the
Yeah.
move that I just missed completely.
Yeah, so
so
you kind of
G3?
have to play g3, and then I'm assuming some kind of a sacrifice on g3 works. Even though, like, even this is not that obvious, because I thought it was extremely easy, but like knight g3, fg, rook h4, who knows what this is? I mean,
Yes.
but black probably isn't doing horribly, but
I mean, we can sacrifice the queen.
but yeah,
knight
it's
takes,
still
and
very
look at
much a game, yeah. And
exactly.
in fact, we might be getting there, yeah, because apparently the winning move my engine was showing me was bishop takes g3. But the problem is, you have to realize this is mate, and it is mate, but it is mate in a very, very spectacular fashion.
Wow.
And I'm showing this quickly because I am getting help. Like if I wasn't getting help, it would take me, I think, quite some time to realize that in this position, it's not queen h2, it's not any kind of a slow bishop move. You can just continue dropping stuff, just luring the king up.
Exactly.
And then it gets mated on the f4 square. This is not easy. And I think it's very understandable that Denis goes rook h4 check. And after king g2, he's still doing well, but it's become tricky.
Yeah, what is the clock situation? 2 minutes 9 versus 2:27. I mean, okay, the good news for black is that he always has perpetual check with knight f4, king g1,
Yeah.
knight h3. That's practically speaking also very important.
Yeah, he is leading the match. He doesn't actually absolutely need to win the game. And he goes bishop takes g3 now, which is strong, but once again, full credit to him, because none of this stuff is really immediately obvious at all.
Yeah,
and
now
after fg3, I think this is probably the point. Yeah.
Okay, queen e2, and then okay, you win the queen, but you win the game. Rook g2, king e1.
I mean, it looks promising. Once again, you probably don't see exactly how you win this, but you know you're doing well, right? Like, just experience tells you that with the king as open as this, there is no way you're in trouble, and you're probably doing very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like you're always going to have a perpetual here somehow if you want. And
I mean, if white would have the rook already on d1 instead of a1, it would be a different story.
Yeah, completely different. But you're short one tempo here.
Yeah, so rook g4 is the current position. Vincent going down to 1 minute.
He doesn't have very much choice. You can start with king f2, but that gives additional options. And even if you just play rook takes g3, you will not find a smarter move than queen takes e2 anyway. He goes king f2.
Maybe he wants to play then rook g3. I have queen e4. Does this exist? Okay, it probably exists, but it will not be that good. Anyway, knight f4 maybe just.
Yeah, there are no good checks, but you can play knight f4, and you have to remember that we only really gave up one piece here with black, right? It's not like we're a full chess set down, and the king doesn't really look very safe on.
I mean, I want to stabilize with knight e3, but then I'm very worried of queen h4.
Yeah, knight e3 should. Yeah, queen h4. You actually just can't run anymore.
Yeah.
Everything starts falling. And you also have no checks. The knight on f4 just controls all kinds of very important squares.
Yeah, rook take g3 played. Down to 20 seconds. Yeah, all eyes on Vincent, how he will handle this.
Yeah, this is not gonna be fun for him. Elsewhere, I guess, yeah, black is just completely winning. Noribek is crashing through. Somehow things got opened on the king's side, and yeah, the white attack on the queen side is basically non-existent. Noribek takes a couple of moves to safeguard his king and then goes in, and yeah, pretty much anything should be winning here with the king on e2 and the possibility of picking up the exchange at any point you want.
Yeah, it does feel like this bishop takes c6. Wow, king on f5. What is this?
Well, yeah, that's Kramnik's game against Aparin. How did we get here?
And so why isn't this lost?
So white managed to safeguard the bishop on a3, so the pawn on e7 survived. But then he took with the king here.
Wow.
And then continued going up. And the reason for that is he wants to have rook e5 here, right? That's why he's doing it. He wants to be able to play rook e5 because, of course, you can play king f7 here. But then white takes twice, and you no longer have access to rook e5. So he wants to have rook e5. Vlad played f3, and at least you can play queen a7. Like if everything else loses, you can at least play queen a7.
But that will be a pawn down endgame.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
And Grigori down to 13 seconds.
Yeah.
F3, queen e6. Queen d5. Anyway, it's the same. White will win a pawn.
Yeah, it's very similar. Yeah, it's very similar. He goes forward.
Yeah.
This is very fun.
The GC square, yeah?
Yeah, continues proving that the king is an active fighting unit in endgames. In the meantime, some games have disappeared off of my screen, which I assume means that MVL won. And
Vincent got mated.
And Vincent got mated somehow. And yeah, in that game, I will try finding it in a break if there will be a break after game 2, but I can't really show it very convincingly right now because it kind of gets lost in all the... And incredibly, Georg Meyer is very much pushing, might actually equalize in a loser's bracket what he was doing all day yesterday, just winning games on demand against Vincent Keimer. He is now, I think, getting close to winning a game on demand against Daniel Dubov as well, although maybe not as close as I thought.
Yeah, but I understand your excitement.
Whoa, something happened. Yeah, after FE4, A4 is such a strange move. Like, how do you not take on E4 here? This is an important pawn. I guess he really did not have any time at all because, like, you want the pawn on E4 gone here. You don't want to have this king on H4 with completely disconnected from other pieces. King H2, Rook C2. There was a threat of mate in 1, which is barely stopped by this move, Rook C2.
Now maybe E5 followed by Rook E4 check?
Yeah, E5 is completely winning, but he's gone BA, Rook takes A2, and Rook G3. And now he's no longer winning anymore. Amazing.
Wow, now Rook takes E4.
Rook E4, I guess Rook G7 is still very good. But G5 is good. G5 is exactly right. G5, and this is the current position. I'll stop. We'll just watch. I don't think we can. Yeah.
Wow, but now he will hold.
Yeah, now he will hold, and it's a massive thing in the context of the match because Grigori stays alive with this. We assume it will be a draw, even though, I mean, on 10 seconds there could still be. Not anymore. I guess they will just agree a draw now. I don't think there will be any flagging done from this position.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so this is a draw. This is a draw, and MVL Prague has already started. So let's switch to that. So after game 2, and once again, we see that I guess the players aren't really informed that they're supposed to have breaks after game 2. The game starts immediately.
But hang on, because this just have started. Let's move to the Georg game to see if he's bouncing back, and it looks like he's
winning.
about to win.
He is winning. Yeah.
Yes.
Quite incredible. Yeah. That's the third game he will win on demand out of 3.
Yes.
Which is really quite remarkable. So there will be an Armageddon in this one. And elsewhere, just to give some results to our viewers, this will be an Armageddon between Dubov and Meyer. And then Dubov will play in the Berlin Armageddon event against Kramnik. So Dubov will have an exciting day.
I mean, he keeps on practicing the Armageddon system, because yesterday we have seen him against Denis Lazovic in action. Wow. And I do believe Sotiris informed us that there is another Armageddon between Anish Giri and Raunak Sadvani as well coming up.
Yeah, and JF Tuanle is probably was a draw, so JF progresses, and Chigaev, Yuan Yi. It's kind of stuck for me, but I assume Yuan Yi won that game, and then maybe there's no Armageddon there. Yuan Yi progresses, and Chigaev and Litwanmin are eliminated from the tournament. And now we can go back to watching MVL versus Prague. MVL only needs a draw out of either this one, or if he loses this, he will still have another shot in game 4 because he's 2-0 up against Prague. Prague was one of the heroes of the first stage. He played Division 3, which is an absolutely grueling 5-day event where there's a lot more players playing, which means that there are no days where you only play one match. You always play at least a couple, and if you drop down to the lower bracket, you on some days might play more than a couple. I think he got to the finals, lost to Sam Sevian, dropped down to the losers bracket, won that, played Sam Sevian again, and I think he lost the final again. But as I mentioned yesterday, I think this tournament is just much easier for Indian players to play in because I think it starts a full 2 hours earlier. So there's much less likelihood of you having to play until 3 in the morning.
Well, also now the clock changed, yeah? So people are winning 1 hour. That's also maybe something important.
Yeah.
And
go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, and Prague gets a double H position, what he is probably looking forward to. Yeah, I mean, he needs to create chances. And this is the best what you can hope for with Black.
Yeah, interesting that MVL, who needs a draw, chooses to go C3 here and not Bishop B5, but it's very much a matter of choice. And Prague goes for knight F6, knight D5, MVL goes here. Another arguably a little bit interesting choice for me, because I thought, you know, if you just wanted a draw, I thought this was a very, very solid choice, right? Like these types of things. They have an incredibly drawish reputation.
The golden variation.
Yeah. Like people have been making draws like this with white for decades. And MVL goes for C3 and then goes for a line, which actually gets you a very interesting, very non-standard, but a very double-edged position.
Yeah, it's a lot to play for, and I know Prague is a very interesting player, and he loves this, double-edged, but also strategical, tactical positions. I feel like he should be very happy now.
Yeah,
he gets a fighting chance.
Yeah, definitely a lot happier than he would have been, I think, if he was forced to, find ways to play for a win in heavily theoretical and also very, very simplified positions after Bishop B5. Bishop B2 is a weird move but I guess this is what he the situation he finds himself in, where you would very much like to develop like this, but the pawn on C3 is constantly under pressure, and it's maybe there's no easy solution as to how to develop from here. But Bishop B2 looks awkward.
Yeah, normally, when I look at this position, I have the feeling that usually white ends up in this type of position when he's in a must-win situation and he does not care, yeah? But now it's exactly the opposite. What is this?
I agree, absolutely. Yeah, this looks like, MVL doesn't really care. I think we shouldn't really, overpress the whole MVL is playing for a draw here storyline, because he needs a draw out of the last two. He so far has been, I wanted to say completely dominant, but that's actually not entirely true, because in game 1 he was not really doing that hot out of the opening for a short period, and then Prague did not find a difficult tactic, but a findable tactic, I think, and went down. But I think MVL is not that happy about having to play a game of chess, to be honest. I think he's okay with it.
He seems to be in a good mood. Yeah, before this round, Maxim has also, I mean, Maxim and Prague were the two ones who won their matches the most convincingly in the first round. So bringing a lot of positive emotions and a lot of confidence coming into this match.
Yeah, now maybe we can finally play d4 and try to plant a knight on e5, or maybe knight e3. You constantly have to watch out for some knight f4 ideas, but
yeah, exactly. Knight e3 runs into knight f4 and then some knight b4 as well.
So we start with this, let's say, and we ask for a move.
Yeah, becomes really tactical.
Yeah, so if e5, I think now we go knight e3, right? Because this is also hanging suddenly.
But now we go b4?
Where does it go though?
Knight f4. Yeah. Queen d.
Yeah, this looks. It could very easily be quite good for black, but I don't see an immediate way to exploit the quote unquote weakness on d4.
Yeah. On the other hand, d4 pawn is still pinned, but you will have time to move the bishop from c2.
Yeah, it's a kind of position where a lot depends on the next two moves. If black manages to attack it and either win it or perhaps, I don't know, provoke c5 somehow. Let's say we play queen b6 and for some reason it actually forces you to play c5. Then black is of course doing quite well. But if what happens is white gets to play bishop b4 and then play d4, d5, then white, suddenly becomes strategically way ahead. MVL instead goes knight e3.
Wow.
Which the engine dislikes massively because knight cb4.
Yeah.
Like massively dislikes this move because knight cb4, and if the bishop goes somewhere, then knight f4, knight d3 is a huge problem, meaning that you more or less have to take, and then after bishop takes b2, you're just straight up wars. And if knight d5, I assume just bishop takes d5, and once again everything is hanging. But Prague goes, it's a similar attempt, but for some reason, the engine likes it a little bit less.
I mean, white goes queen b5, yeah?
Yeah, I thought queen b5 was the idea, but queen b5 the engine actually dislikes. Goes a6 and then knight d3.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering because I immediately mentioned knight e3, knight f4, and I was assuming that followed by knight b4 it will be wonderful. Then we saw that computer disliked knight f4 and I got confused.
I think it's unfair to say it dislikes it. It thought starting with knight cb4 was slightly cleaner. It still feels that black is better here. It's just that with very precise play, this maybe gives white a better fighting chance. But the absolute best line that is currently being suggested really looks very unattractive. Like queen f1, knight b4, we just take, and we take on a7. This looks very, very ugly. But somehow it's not, white is not lost. White is definitely worse, but white is not lost here. And the difference being is, I think quite simply, in this position, if you take on a7, we don't go knight f4, we just take on b4 quite happily. So that's the difference. This is why beginning with this and not with this is being preferred by the machines.
But my feeling is that anyway, Prague is incredibly happy and MVL is just disgusted with himself now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
And by the way, the two Armageddons are started.
Yeah, so let's take a look at what people chose, at least. In the game between Raunak Sadvani and Anish Giri, I guess Anish bet something like, we have, whoa.
Yeah.
Very funny. Because in Dubov Maya, Dubov bet 850. So Dubov is saying, I don't care, just give me the draws. I am faster than you, I don't care. And in the match between Raunak and Giri, there was a difference of 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Giri bet 11.48 and Raunak bet 11.55. And the 7-second difference won, which means that Giri is playing the black pieces, needs a draw, and has 11.48. And he is so far doing really, really well, because these types of structures, they can sometimes be quite promising for white, but white needs to have a lot more stuff already in play.
And
Like,
also the black pawn is on a5, yeah, so he
Yeah.
can push this pawn to a4 immediately with tempo.
Yeah, if you take on b7, the queen will not return. So that's not playable at all. In fact, Raunak goes queen c2, but then like this entire maneuver is just wrong, right? Just queen b3, basically just queen b3 is a massive, massive mistake here. He could have gone knight bg2 here, but he played queen b3, a4, queen c2, which is, yeah, you generally don't have time to do that in this position, in these types of positions.
Yeah, d4
and now
played.
now he is in trouble. Because if you drop the rook back, I assume knight h5, knight f4 is incredibly annoying. Just putting pressure everywhere. And if you take on d4, you're just not going to be very happy in general, like ed4, rook e1. And I think the setup they go for most often is like knight d7. And then let's say knight bd2, you go queen e7, you go rook a5, you put this guy on c5. And
yeah, black is just so active.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And it's going to be very difficult for white to organize anything at all on the other side of the board. So, so far this has been an excellent start for Anish in a must-draw game. Back to the winner's bracket, I guess, until this heats up further.
Wow, and Maxim opted for queen d1, a very sad choice.
Whoa, yeah. There's just no way to get rid of this guy. It gets supported by the other rook, and then we look for ways to increase pressure. But just in very simple terms, there's just no way to properly get rid of this.
Yeah, wow, this actually brings Prag's chances back, because okay, he has all the chances to win this game, and then he can carry the momentum and have the white pieces.
He'll have the white pieces in the last one. Yeah, so yeah, this is a massive, massive success for Prag in terms of the outcome right out of the opening. Yeah, looks very, very good for black. And in the meantime, Nodibek against Arjun was a kind of a semi-slav with queen c2, bishop d6, b3 castles, bishop b2, e5. I used to think you were supposed to do some stuff like this in this position, but I'm guessing they analyzed this and decided it's not really working all that well. So instead, Arjun played b2, black played e4, knight d2, and now a move I would not have guessed if you gave me 15 tries. Maybe if you gave me 15 tries, I would run out of moves. And I would guess it, but this is what Arjun played here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of typical, but I'm not sure in exactly this position. I have seen this motif before.
Well, let's try to explain it. I think the easiest way to explain it is very simply white wants to go g4 and h4. And we're actually actively interested in stopping it.
And also CD5, knight b5 is an issue.
That as well, yeah, that as well. Because I think sort of autopilot move in this position is rook e8. But then you have to ask yourself about both of those things. First of all, this very much exists. It will probably cost you the bishop, because if you play bishop b8 after rook c1, you can't actually stop knight c7. So you will still have to give up that bishop only in a poor version. So you kind of play knight f8, knight d6, queen d6. And I really don't hate this for black at all, but he clearly wanted more. And there is also a question of whether g4 is playable. Yes. Knight f8, g5, and just go in. Apparently, Engine says knight g4, and we can sacrifice this knight if it gets attacked, and this is very good for black, but you have to be very sure about this. So he goes knight b8, and the continuation is long castles, a5, f3, ef, gf. Yeah, this is going to be a proper brawl.
But hang on, Peter, can I ask you a strange question? There was so much action in the previous round that how did that game finish between Nodiebek and Arjun?
I think, hang on a second. Yeah, that's a good question. Let me...
Because the White King, we have seen the White King was in jeopardy on the second rank. Black's pieces were already behind the enemy lines on the first rank, but we did not see the finish.
I think Noribek won, but yeah, somehow it's still sort of glitching for me. So,
and also by guessing of the opening, no, but hang on, Noribek is white, so he's super aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's actually doing this while leading in the match, which is quite something. Let me try and find it. Hang on. I'm pretty sure I can find it if I work hard enough.
Yes,
yeah.
there it was. Yeah, black one is there with rook h2 checkmate.
There it is. Yeah, that's that's a kind of a sad final position where we left it somewhere here. He played rook c3, trying to run, and then the rook came in, and finally rook h2 check just ended the game. Yeah, so yeah, Noribek is actually leading the match and then doing this. Yeah, going for this position.
But this is also good news for Arjun that he gets a chance.
No, this is this is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Because even if it's not good for Black, I think you welcome it with open arms because of just how sharp it is. But it also honestly kind of looks good for Black because we're just going to have so much play.
Yeah, knight a6, knight b4 is.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so this match is insane. I mean,
yeah.
What else do we have?
Yeah, I'm just trying to. For some reason, I'm having trouble. Like I wanted to have all the matches open, at least to have the scores reliably on the second screen, but it's not updating for me properly. MVL is leading 2-0. Noribek is leading 1.5-half. Vincent is 2-0 down, right?
Yes.
Vincent is 2-0 down. Yeah, and Kramnik is 1.5-half ahead. In Vincent's game, which also started, he is playing this kind of a mix between, like, it looks like a Stonewall, but by this point, we all know it was a King Queen's Indian because nobody actually plays the Stonewall, but a lot of people get to these types of Stonewall positions, or the Catalan. Yeah, this one, it wasn't the Queen's Indian, it was a Catalan.
Yeah.
So they began from here and then continued sort of quietly. And then Vincent just went in with h6 and g5. And
yeah, he has nothing to lose. Yeah, he has to try to mix things up.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's a very messy position. Exactly what he wants, but probably a position that is objectively not that great for Black because White hasn't really, committed any glaring mistakes to suddenly be in trouble. And in Oparin Kramnik, we have a slow-ish theoretical, also sort of a Catalan. It's a Catalan / Queen's Gambit declined mix. C4, E6. Yeah, and this position can be achieved via this move order, which is a Catalan move order, or you can get it from the Queen's Gambit, bishop b7, g3. And interestingly, Vladimir doesn't play anything fancy here. He won a very nice game against me, one of the European Club Cups, playing Queen d6 in this position, but goes for a much more straightforward c5 here.
Yeah, it was the Skopje. It was the Skopje European Club Cup when Vladimir won all his games.
Yeah. It was a very typical Svidler Kramnik game where I wanted to play something safe out of the opening and did not know nearly as much as my opponent did, and ended up having to defend a slightly worse. So endgame, defended it quite okay for a while, and then finally made some mistakes and lost. Knight e3 played here by Grigori. I mean, it looks like a pleasant little edge, honestly. Doesn't look like it's fully equal yet, but winning a position like this against Kramnik is not going to be very easy.
Yeah, now a very big question that can, for example, Black go for a move like bishop b7 and allow the...
I was wondering about that, yeah, and try to play d4, but the bishop, like if you do play d4, it really should be on e6, right? It shouldn't be on b7.
Exactly. I mean, it looks like it's maybe active, but it does not seem to work.
Yeah, like you get here and then you suddenly realize you no longer have any attractive moves. because this pin is extremely, extremely annoying.
And also bishop h3 sometimes is very annoying. I mean,
Yeah.
too many problems. Yeah, no. Let's keep the solid structure.
Yeah, but we have more exciting positions elsewhere. So let's maybe take a look at them for a second. Yeah, Anish, I guess Anish is just in because that's an Armageddon game. He's 2 pawns up. The pawn on d3 probably gets picked up, but he only needs a draw, and he has a, like, black is better. The question is how much better. But black is clearly better here. And he only really needs to draw this game, so it shouldn't really be a problem. So Anish is heavily favored to progress in the lower bracket by eliminating Rana Aksadvani. The other Armageddon, Dubov appears to be completely winning against Meyer and playing very fast as well. And Meyer just decided to play a slow game of chess without really engaging with the theory. And by move 15, Dubov had this dream King's Indian. Absolute dream. Yeah, just absolute giving up nothing. Yeah, exactly. He didn't even have to sacrifice anything at all to get an absolutely glorious attack on the king's side, and he is now crashing through. Yeah, bishop h4 actually was a mistake. Instead of bishop h4, he could have played queen g7 check, and after, let's say, king h1, we can go, I assume even king f7, king e6, and then rook h8 is winning, but bishop h4 here is quite strong. Instead, he played bishop h4 first, and now they have this position. But once again, the problem for Georg is maybe you can make a draw here by trading and then bringing the king over to e3 and holding, but you're supposed to win this, and winning this doesn't really look very realistic. So I guess maybe criticizing bishop h4 is kind of stupid because it does the job, you know. It's not the best move in the position, but it definitely should do the required job of not losing the game.
Yeah, it would have been a terrible mistake if he needs to win the game. Yeah, but like this, it fits perfectly.
Yeah, he still has almost 4 minutes on the clock, and you just take on g3, you play rook d8, you bring the king to e6. You never ever lose this with black. You probably also don't win. Like, objectively, this is probably a draw now, but you don't care because draw is as good as a win in this situation. So let's go back to the upper bracket. Praga is still much better.
Yeah, because it's black to move. But if white gets bishop c5 in, it's another game.
Yeah. So the choices are, if we take on d4, the last queen takes b5, queen takes d2, and maybe some kind of a move, and d7 is hanging, and bishop
but okay,
c5.
we are pawn up, and we have the pair of bishops.
Yeah, no, it looks fantastic. I'm just trying to kind of name all the options.
I thought like after queen d4, maybe you wanted to take on e7 with the tempo.
But then after rook e8, you have to go back. And this was my problem. I think this is equal material, but I hate this more.
Yes.
Because I think my pieces will never have any moves. I actually hate this more than I hate this position. Because here, at least I have some squares for my pieces. I have some sources of counterplay. e7 is, I mean, not weak, but it's vulnerable a little bit right now. And I maybe can attack the pawn on a7, and maybe I can, I don't know, dream of trading it for the pawn on b3. I have some upside. Not a lot of upside, but I have some upside. Whereas in this position, black will play h5, black will play bishop b7, and then eventually you either get mated or black generates a passer on the queen side and wins. And you will never, ever have a single threat until the game finishes. Unless, of course, black blunders. I mean, this is a fast time control, so blunders do happen. But objectively, I honestly hate this much more.
Yeah, and Prague opted for queen takes d4, and he's up on the clock against MVL. This is very important. Because we know Maxim.
Yeah, let's see what Maxim chooses.
Yeah, he also likes to have more options somehow. Yeah, so probably he will eliminate this b5 pawn, but it's a pawn.
It's actually a difficult decision because you also, I know this feeling quite well, where like you get the feeling that you're supposed to, make a less pragmatic choice, and then you sit there and you think, but I can take a full pawn here, and if I don't do it and it doesn't pan out, there will be this very kind of clear-cut inflection point in the game where I had a different choice and I opted for something fancy instead of just taking a pawn. And I will look like an idiot.
But he listened to you. Yeah, he opted for queen b5.
Yeah. b5 played. I mean, for Prague, there is no such argument. Like there is no real argument for keeping the d2 pawn alive. There's no upside. So I think we take on d2 and we go from there. Also, very importantly, I'm sure our viewers understand, but rook d1, of course, would be a good move with a pawn on h3. But with a pawn on h2, it's completely unplayable because back rank issues.
Oh, wow. Bishop b4 was played. Queen takes d2, bishop b4. Bishop c3.
Yeah, bishop c3. Now we are forced into this trade. And very importantly, black will have time to play bishop b6 next move. So something like rook f1, bishop b6, b3, b4. And if these guys get off the board, it's closer to a draw, even though you will get tortured for the rest of the game. And the endgames are not even that easy, but you will get tortured. But also, there is no real way to, ensure that they disappear off the board. So you're, of course, much worse here. A very, very cute move there by Arjun, by the way. Look at this.
Wow. Not just taking the pawn, but sacrificing the queen and winning the game, probably.
Yeah, so after knight a4, he went rook e8, provoked e4, and just relocated the knight from f6 to f4, which is very logical. And then after queen h4, yeah, knight e3, he just said, thank you. Thank you, I'll take it. I'll take that. If Arjun wins this, he equalizes the scores with one game to go.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, and
this knight on f4 is such a monster.
Yeah, this is a fantastic piece. Yeah, and the other one, you can maybe now even consider going this direction, right? We have enough. We don't need a mating attack to go with our extra material. We sort of have enough already, so bringing it towards the center makes a decent amount of sense as well.
Yeah, is there some argument for a move like e takes d5? Can I try to use the fact that your rook on e8 is vulnerable or not?
Yeah, it's a good point because, of course, ideally, I would like to be taking like this, but it's hanging as Peter has indicated.
But okay, after cd, then you get the c6 square for the knight.
Exactly, yeah. If we could play b3, b5 here, I would be very much in favor, but it's too slow.
Yeah, knight c6,
it's
b5,
too slow
b4,
because it gets to b4 and everything starts collapsing because just too many threats. Yeah, it's a tough position for Nidebek to find something playable in. He's also down 3 minutes on the clock. Not great.
It's
not great. Vincent is doing very well.
I mean, he's trying everything.
Yeah, somehow the h-pawns disappeared. So we were here, he played h5, 93, h4, and then he's decided to just completely ignore it. And now it's tricky because you've softened up your king side. I mean, you want to play king f2, rook h1, but I assume black will have ways to make it difficult.
But yeah, white is solid. I mean, Denis is always, he knows and feels his openings very well.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring up something here. Like the decision would be very difficult for me, in particular if we consider the match situation. Do we ever play g4? Because it feels to me that if we do play g4, it probably forces white to play f4. And now we have this square for the knight, and we are probably the first one to occupy the h-file. But it also makes white's life probably significantly simpler in terms of what white's next few moves are. And he does, after some thought, he does go g4. So that's going to be
Yeah, I think that the line and the
the
justification
discussion.
is maybe that after f4, knight e4, you just take on e4.
Mhm.
And then you would move the bishop from d2 and then queen h2 would come in time or something.
Yeah, he goes king g7 first, which I think is the right way to go about things. And now after king h2, he has queen h2. After king f2, he has queen h2, which wins the exchange, basically, I think. Like rook h1, knight e4 check, queen takes e4, queen takes h1. And this is so funny.
And more importantly, the rook on a1 is hanging. You can't return queen c2.
You can. This is what the machine
says. You can.
Says.
Wow.
Yeah, this is why life is so strange when you have the first line running in the background. You can actually do this. So you don't have to trade queens. And weirdly, I don't know how easy this position is to win.
Yeah, well, if I have to retreat, then white also gets a lot of very dangerous things.
Yeah, like there is knight takes g4 here because queen h7 comes in. But my argument was, even let's say I just play c5 here. How easy is it to win this position? Let's say bishop e5 de, I put the bishop on d4, I get my king over to c3, and I stay. Because there is only the h file, and there's only so many pieces you can play, you can put on h2, you know? Like something will be on h2, and I will like have a queen on f2 and the bishop on g2. And I will
it's
continue
also a question
passing.
if I have time to play some b6 and then bishop a6.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
we're debating something that is very far away, but yeah. King g7, and for now, Dennis is still thinking, and the clock situation is quite level. In the other two games, yeah, Praga is a pawn up, but I think this will be very, very difficult to win, actually.
Okay, both players down to 10 seconds, so...
Yeah, let's watch this, this seems like it's probably concluding quite soon, so let's watch this.
And by the way, just as an information, you don't have to go there, but I think Kramnik is in some kind of a trouble. Maybe Grigori will get a chance to bounce back.
Maybe not even a little, yeah, quite an annoying position for Vladimir there. Yeah, here important to remember that Prague absolutely needs to win this because he is 2-0 down in the match, and if he doesn't win this, the match is just over. This apparently, like King G8 for some reason was much stronger and was supposedly maybe even winning, and now Queen takes A7 is playable, and I don't really understand why it's playable here and not there. Like, it's just so difficult to.
But yeah, f4 is a very nice human move. Yeah, knight f3, blockade on the dark squares, but also black's bishop is opened up.
But now after Queen b2 check, you. Yeah, Queen b2 check was probably cleaner, but MVL also stabilized. He'll go Queen e3, knight f3 now, and stabilize quite well. Or even, yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe
Black
even.
played with 1 second. He played with 1 second, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh. Uh-oh.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's not how you want this game to end, but I think MVL was probably favored to hold by this point. I think this queen, even though, like, if you don't blunder the queen here,
I mean, he wanted to play queen d2 check. That's
of course, yeah, of course. He wanted queen d2, king h3. Objectively, this clearly is a draw, but if let's say it's 20 seconds versus 20 seconds, black definitely wins some of those.
Yes, you go
maybe
g5
not.
and then you keep on,
You just keep on making moves and eventually somebody will blunder, but it doesn't have to be you. But yeah, queen d3 just settled the question very convincingly here. So we have 3 games left in the upper. The Armageddons went as expected. Anish went through by beating
Sadvani.
And Dubov got through by beating Meyer. And the lower bracket, therefore, is concluded. Anish and Dubov are probably... no, this is not how it works. They will play somebody who will drop down from the losers of the winners bracket today, I guess. So I don't really know the pairings for tomorrow just yet. Andreev defeats Wonderful Time, and Yuan Yi does defeat Chigaev.
And what about
This is-
Vincent and Grigori? They have chances to bounce back?
This is Vincent's position. The engine really likes it for black, but once again, how easy? Let's say you just bite the bullet and you do this.
No,
which
but
seems
okay,
like
then I will go Queen F5, Rook H3, Rook H8, and okay, something should happen, yeah. And I still have Bishop C8, B6, Bishop A6 sacrifice.
Exactly, yeah. No, this is a very attractive position for young Vincent. It's an absolute dream scenario, considering where he was in the game earlier. 3 minutes 40 against 3 minutes 50 as well, so decent amount of time. And in the Kramnik endgame, Kramnik is suffering. You were absolutely right. Maybe not as much as.
Yeah, he somehow miraculously managed not to lose a pawn. That was already a miracle.
Yeah, well, the position we were talking about with Peter, which we weren't showing on the screen because there were other things to debate, was this, where the rook just went e8, a8 to protect the pawn on a7, which is very, very awkward, but was required. And he seems to be, holding on grimly, but holding on.
Yeah, which means then that if he manages to hold, then Grigor will need to play all in
win
with
with
black
black,
pieces.
Win with black in game 4. Let's go back, I guess, to our
Yes.
Semislav, because it's the position with the most pieces for now.
So
the
the
evaluation
queen from h2 moved to h4 and now rook h1, bishop h3.
It's quite amazing, really, because I saw on my screen that bishop h3 was the best move, and I was about to say, this is what my engine is telling me, but there is no way anybody plays this. And then he played it, because I think, considering that you have a lot of healthy options, like I don't think there is anything wrong with, let's say, queen f6 or queen g5 or really any of those moves. The idea of pinning myself on the h file would have been, for me personally, I think very, very difficult to even consider.
But I think the point was that he already had this plan. Yeah, when he opted for queen h2 to h4, he had foreseen that this is maybe a nice setup.
I think so. And he also has just a very direct idea here, because white is not in time. Like if we consider the options, you want to play king b1 and then maybe queen c1 next, but we do have this tactic using the pin, and it's actually very difficult to defend against, to such a degree that Noribek chooses to go either xd5 and now, cd5, and without this tension and with the e file open, this just looks completely lost.
Yeah, now pins all over the place. This bishop on a5 is a total monster. Knight on f4 as well. Queen from h4 also eyeing the e1 square.
We can even spend a couple of tempi bringing it back to c6 if we wanted to.
Exactly.
But I'm pretty sure there will be faster solutions. But honestly, I wouldn't hate knight b8 here. Just put it on c6 and go from there. Yeah, and there's some nice words about the existence of this coverage in chat, and there was a mention of Division 3, and Division 3. This is Division 2, but Division 3 also has some absolutely stellar players in it. So, very few events in the world of chess which are as stacked as these things.
Yeah, and queen d2, knight takes c5, another tactical shot.
Yeah, I think we have to take, and after g4 we have to look for, I don't know, knight g4 maybe, or something. Knight eg1 maybe is the more, like, objectively maybe a safer choice, but it's such a sad move to make that.
Yeah, I think practically it's over. Also, Nodiebek is down to 30 seconds. No way back from here. Yeah,
he doesn't even take, but then he's 2 pawns down with nothing to compensate for it, like knight c6 simply, and connect everything. And all of these fundamental problems that white has with the position, they still remain. And you're also now 2 pawns down. So yeah, not very much hope. Knight g4, but yeah, you can just chase it away. Nothing wrong with just attacking it and chasing it away. this entire setup, which I was so impressed by, is incredibly sturdy. Just no counterplay against it.
Yeah, I can't really imagine any escape for white. Yeah.
Okay, let's briefly take a look at the other stuff. Vincent is, Machine says winning, not even better, winning.
Yeah, making huge progress. Yeah, also now the bishop might come to c4 and then white will have to sacrifice the exchange on c4.
Yeah, and there is a very cute way to actually win on the spot here, which I think is difficult to find, and he didn't. His move is good, but there was a very cute way to win on the spot. He could play queen h1, the threat of rook h2 actually forces this trade, and now rook f1 check is such a strong threat that white is just completely helpless.
Wow.
But I think queen h1 is a very missable move. And bishop d3 is still very, very strong because he doesn't have to hurry. He is just dominant everywhere. He can include king h6, king f5 if he wants to. He can include whatever he likes, because eventually, I think what's most likely going to be the end of the game is, like you go king h6, and then at some point you go rook b7, rook h7, and then you just give mate to this king on g2.
Yeah, there is nowhere to hide. Exactly.
Yeah, with the bishop on d3, the king never actually gets over there. There's just never going to be time. So very nicely done so far by Vincent. If he ends up winning this, he will have to win with the white pieces, but that's manageable. People do that.
That's already the next step. Yeah, first you have to win the first game.
Yeah. Minute against a minute, so this will get nervy for sure. But so far, he's been playing a kind of an exemplary game here. And now it's actually, on my screen it says mate in 10 after queen g2, king g2, rook b7, rook c6, just rook bh7, rook e6, king f7, and then they do come in, and you can't stop it.
Yeah, it's tricky, of course. With 1 minute on the clock, you might not want to trade the queens immediately.
Exactly. But you can also just start with king f5 or bishop b5, as he has done, to just eliminate this kind of counterplay altogether. It's a very understandable decision. And now you just take on a2 and or rook b7, rook h7 anyway.
Also, rook e2 check, taking on
rook e2, rook e3. Rook e2, rook e3 was maybe my preferred way. But the problem for white is this is still happening.
Yes.
It's happening slower than it was happening earlier, but it's still happening and it's still winning. You can't really do anything at all about it. All of your pawns are extremely weak, and they will start dropping. Something disappeared off our screen. I think Vladimir probably made a draw.
Yeah, he made a draw.
So Vladimir needs a draw with the white pieces in the last game. Vincent is completely winning, and in the Erigaisi Abdusadorov game, Harjun is in complete control. This is just very, very resignable. You can do whatever you please here with black.
Yeah, 2 pawns up, and you have the compensation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're also giving mates there. Like bishop b5, rook a8 is close to actual mate. Oh yeah, that probably ends the game, honestly. Just reminding your opponent that there's also this fork to worry about. And games 4 are beginning instantly, actually. And Vincent goes back to that h3 line in a must-win game. And it's a bit of a change, because c5 was played by Denis in game 2, and now he castles and allows this takes bishop f4.
Yeah, I think this is like the Magnus style of playing this kind of cards bar structures. No big theory. I don't care. I don't want to win the opening. Let me just get a playable position and we take it from there.
Isn't this just straight up now after bishop f5? Isn't this just this game that he won in St. Louis in round 1 against Nepa?
No, because I think there black had not castled yet. It was c6, bishop f5, knight bd7 first, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah. But it's very close. Yeah, it's very
similar. Close. Yes, very close.
And Arjun equalizes against Abdusatorov and goes for the Wesley So.
Wow.
And against the Verisov, Noribek goes bishop f5, f3, e6, e4, bishop g6, which is not something I have a lot of experience in, and definitely not what I recommended against the Verisov in the course, if I'm allowed to mention the course once.
But hang on, Peter. I mean, your Vedesov comes from d4, knight f6, knight c6, d5, or not?
That's. I think I had a bit of a shortcut there because I claimed that because they can force us to play g6 pretty much everywhere by starting with knight f3, and we are a Grunfeld course. We are committed to playing the Grunfeld. That in a lot of lines, I said g6 is not forced here, objectively, but because we are Grunfeld players, I will be giving you g6 everywhere because this is what we do.
Of course, yeah. Otherwise, it's also too confusing. Yeah, that's already very high-level chess. That if I can play clean Grunfeld, I play clean Grunfeld. If my opponent does something else, then I switch to some other opening. It's not what people want.
Yeah. Interesting choice anyway to go for this specifically in game 4 of this match by Arjun. I like this for black. I think after bishop g6, like if there is a problem with this bishop f5, e6, bishop g6 line, it has to be the move h4. I think knight h3 is just not concrete enough.
I mean, when I see this e4, d4, f3, knight c3 construction, I feel like maybe we should just very quickly highlight the Caro-Kann when we see the third move f3, just to compare what are the differences and why we think like this is much better for black. Because here black always has the problem that the bishop on c8 is stuck.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and people actually play like one of the lines that you can choose here, and I don't know, let's say, I don't know, b5, even though it's an ugly looking move, was at some point something that people were doing in this position. But you always, and b5, I think one of the reasons why people were playing this was to try and get it out via the a6 square, maybe in some situations. Whereas here, it's already on a very good diagonal.
Yes.
It's exactly where you want it to be. And you're also sort of immediately generating a lot of counterplay against the white center with c5, knight c6, knight g7. Yeah, your play just looks very logical. d takes c5. This is entering kind of strategically risky territory for Arjun because d takes c4 exists as an option, right? And then you will get all kinds of really weird, completely broken up structures, whether you choose this and then maybe knight d7, knight gf6, or you can choose bishop takes e4 and then you get some kind of position like this where, yes, you're a pawn up, but your structure really doesn't look very stellar. You know?
Yeah. It's like the FC Nimzo, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. But really, really nice looking compared to the f3 Nimzo, I think.
Yes.
Really promising for black. d4 hasn't been played yet, though. You have other options. You can play knight d7, I guess. You can play knight e7 and then maybe knight bc6. Bishop takes c5 is possible, but feels kind of wrong because that pawn is not really running away. Knight f6, maybe, yeah.
I mean, one thing that I want to mention about this whole format and this Champions Chess Tour, that the reason why I feel that it's such a brutal format that once you finish your game, the next game starts immediately. So basically, you don't even have time to, you know, have a 2-3 minutes rest and get ready psychologically for the next game. I think this is a very tough challenge on the players.
I'm pretty sure that if you ask for a 2-minute break after your game ends, you get it. I don't think it's being, you know, policed very stringently. I'm pretty sure I've done this before. Like if you finish the game and you say, I would like a 2-minute break for, I don't know, bathroom visit or whatever, to go get a drink of water, nobody is going to say no to you. But in general, if you don't specifically ask, your game will restart pretty much instantly.
Yes, I think the trick is, however, that sometimes the players finish their game and press the rematch button.
Yeah.
And once this rematch button is pressed, it's kind of a very awkward situation that do you still have the right to go, or is it polite at all to leave?
Well, I mean, you press rematch, but it has to be confirmed on the other side. So it pops up on your side of the screen, and if you say yes, then you get rematched. It's a request for a rematch. It's not like it still doesn't start automatically. It's a request. So at that point, the second person could type in the general chat and say, "Can I please have a couple of minutes?"
Ah, okay, this is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, knight f6 is a choice point.
I think it's also important and interesting for the viewers to get these little insights. Yeah, because we just don't have enough information. We see some games starting instantly, some other games pause for 1-2 minutes, so we can at least then understand that, what kind of things are happening in the background.
Yeah, and we've just been told by Satirius that game 4 of the MVL in Prague. Hang on a second. Why is there a game 4?
There isn't, no?
Yeah, there shouldn't be, because it's 3-0, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's I think it's honestly the first time in living memory where Satirius told us something in chat which turned out to be not 100% correct. So we should.
He already assumed that Prague was bouncing back. Yeah, absolutely correctly. Yeah, he had all the chances.
Bishop g5.
No, the trick is that the Oparin Kramnik game is somehow with the wrong color, because Oparin had just had the white pieces, and that's why it was confusing, and now we have the game running there.
Yeah, this game is running. We just had very exciting positions elsewhere, so I wasn't really switching to it. So yeah, Vlad just needs a draw here, so he's playing very, very safely. The way to play for a win here with black, not g6, that was a misclick. You probably want to do something like this, and you definitely, like, your absolute dream scenario here is something like a4, and then I will make a bunch of moves just to illustrate structures. These are not forced. So what you want to get here is some kind of a structure like this. You still have to play against counterplay in the center. You obviously are not going to get all of these moves in a row, but you want to fix the pawn on a3, and then you want to make a lot of progress on the queen side to play against the pawn on a3. But Vladimir, of course, realizes that, and she takes d5 is not forced. You can ignore knight a5 for quite a while, I feel. And even if she takes d5 does happen, white, of course, will have a lot to say about allowing black all that progress.
Yeah, looks like a nice little advantage for white.
Yeah, this is a stable game. We'll return to it if it heats up, but the other two are, I think, less obvious. So this is Winston's position out of the opening here. After bishop f5, he did play g4, just as Magnus did in that game against Nepomniachtchi, bishop b4. And Magnus went for some queen b3 and then endgames in these types of positions.
Yeah, first he had to play bishop e2 stabilizing move. He had to guard the knight, and then, something like this. But black was not castled, and then some queen b6, queen b3, queen b6 business happened there. So this has now a little different character, and Vincent goes for g5, forcing the knight away from f6, and then trying to put pressure on the e4 bishop. Bishop
a
h2.
very interesting option is being pointed out by the machine here, which I'm pretty sure he spent maybe 0 seconds on, but the engine suggests that you can at least consider this, because it gives you this very, very important tempo. You're attacking the knight on h5 and the pawn on e4, and black plays g6, you play h4. And you are trying to just go after the pawn on e4 very, very directly.
In fact, it's very tempting.
Yeah, I don't know how well it works, because, for instance, I would be quite worried about c6, c5 here, trying to open everything in the center. And if it costs me the pawn on e4, but you have to play king e2 somewhere. Let's say if white just kind of naively takes on e4 here, and I give a check from, I don't know, b4 or a5. I think black has a lot of play, but in this position, knight takes e4 is not forced. You can start with queen b3, and you can prepare taking on e4. Like if you play bishop g2 and then take on e4, you'll have the f1 square for the king. for the future. So he didn't do that. But bishop takes b8, I think, in general, is a difficult move to consider. So bishop h2, g6, rook g1, bishop f3, and bishop d6. Takes, h4, knight g7, bishop b2. Should be okay for black, objectively,
Yes.
but it's a reasonably sharp position. So
Yeah, I mean, okay, black stabilized. Clearly, Vincent is hoping for some queen h3, hitting the knight on h5, and if the knight moves from h5, then h4, h5, opening up the h5 initiative on the king side is the plan. So with black, the question, how do you stop that? How do you stop that idea? Because on one side, one feels like white's king is still stuck in the center there, so you would love to open up the center somehow to break with c6, c5 or f7, f6, but none of these breaks are so easy because they also weaken black's construction.
yeah, they're very double-edged. Yeah, c5 is extreme. Like, I think c5 would be quite good if not for the fact that without the knight on f6, you're pretty much losing the pawn on d5 if you do that. Yeah. So it has to be, like, for it to be good, it has to be really, really well prepared, and I don't see how you prepare it. But both f6 and f5 do seem playable, because let's say we go f5 here and white takes. I think we go knight gf6, we go king h8, rook a8. We're not going to get mated along the g file.
Yes,
here.
no, but so if you play f5, I'm going to go queen h3.
Yeah, I don't think white even takes.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it gets ignored and white goes queen h3 or castles and then queen h3 and tries to organize something on the king side. So yeah, I think Vincent has to be quite happy about this, because black has no obvious immediate plan to deal with the very, very straightforward idea of castles long, queen h3, and ask the question, do you allow me to take on h5, or do you move the knight away, allow me to open the h file?
This brings us to the question that does black have the time to just go b5? What about that idea?
What if I'm castling into it, so to speak? You want to maybe go knight b6 and then b4, a5, a4, yeah, the typical stuff.
I mean, at least I want to kick this knight away from c3.
Yeah.
And I feel like if after queen h3, b4, you don't have time to take on h5 and you can't put the knight on e2, then I have activity with c5 or whatever, and I can just break up everything.
Yeah, luring the knight away from the c3 square is very useful here, because it gives you time to organize counterplay.
But then it's opted for f5, and he gives time for Vincent to play queen h3.
Queen h3, or we can start with castles. I don't think f4 is not a threat yet, because we can quite happily reply with e4, in particular if we already castled. So,
so we have time to castle.
I think so.
Yeah, very sharp position. Okay, let's get back to Nodirbek's position to understand what happened in that craziness.
Well, it kind of quietened down, and white is not doing quite well. I think the reaction... I think this is a very strange point in the game, honestly, because you can just take, and go knight bd7.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, you have c6, so you're not lost. But I think you generally take this quite happily with black, no?
Yeah, I mean, you can never be worse, but you can be better.
That's how it feels to me, but I guess he disagreed, because he played queen c7, and now he gets more or less by force. He gets this position, which doesn't look clear at all. And now he castles.
Wow.
And the engine hates all of this. Absolutely hates it. Says we can take on g6. I guess after fg, we will just castle, and like this structure is just poor.
Yes.
This is not going to work.
Nodirbek will take back with the h-pawn
for
sure.
But then the machine says I can take, I can go back, and then I can castle queenside, and I'm actually a pawn up.
Yeah.
And your attack on the queenside doesn't exist yet. Whereas if I go knight f2, knight g4, or h4, h5, my attack on the king side will just be decisive, basically.
Yeah, so, wow, but this is then very uncharacteristic, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What a nervous game by Abdusatılov. Yeah, and he, of course, Arjun uses the momentum, goes bishop g6.
Yeah. And I mean, you have to say that leading +1 with 2 games to go, his choice to go for this really, really crazy double-edged, extremely risky line with white pieces was, I mean, that's how they play. I don't really want to criticize. That's how I think this entire generation plays. They don't really pay very much attention to, the match situation. They want to be principled. They want to play full-blooded chess in every game. But from the purely pragmatic viewpoint, I think that wasn't the best choice. And he goes FG, which, the engine just says he's basically lost now. So, yeah, that's going very much off the rails. The problem is after castles, let's say 97, I suspect b4 also is quite good. But the biggest problem for Nodibek here will be that if I go rook h1 and you take on c5, I have b4, knight h6, queen b3, and this drops. You can't keep it alive. And then you're down a pawn and also your position is bad.
Yeah, it's looking horrible. I mean, and knowing that he had all those options of just trading queens and destroy the opponent's pawn structure and have a very comfortable endgame, it's of course very sad.
Yeah, and Arjun goes for a more restrained option, which is still good, but less so. Yeah, but he's still going to be much, much better here. Yeah, he castles kingside, b6, rook f e1, rook a e1 was maybe even harsher because I think you want to be replying to this with f4. And if you want to play f4, I think having rooks on f1 and e1 and not a1 and e1 would have been a better choice, but still going to be a very, very good position for Arjun. Kramnik, I think, is just much better. Just briefly to visit that game, I think something has gone badly wrong here. After a4, Kramnik took on d5, took on d3. He takes d5. I really felt like you had to take with the pawn. He took with the knight. Knight c4, played f5 because allowing e4 would have been bad, but e4 happened anyway. And after rook f6, I mean, many things are strong here, but knight takes b6 is perfectly good enough.
Yeah.
Just wins a healthy pawn. White is just much, much better and only needs a draw. So yeah, Vladimir is.
I mean, whenever I look at Vladimir's games, I have the feeling like he's simply stronger than his opponents. That's the problem. And he plays such healthy, nice, energetic chess. Every move has its purpose. Just wonderful to see him back in action.
Yeah, rook a6 chosen. Yeah, whatever. Like you can take on. Apparently, knight g5 wins on the spot, and he does see it. Knight g5 connecting with more threats, and the entire position is starting to fall apart. Let's watch something else. Feels like Arjun. I mean, after king f7, like there has to be something that wins by force, right? I'm very tempted to start calculating rook takes e6, but I guess it's unnecessary.
Yeah, he just went for b4.
Yeah. After b takes c5, what do we play?
Probably queen c4?
Probably queen c4. Yeah, I like it as well. Yeah, bc, we go queen c4, we ask for a move.
And then knight f4 is joining the party as well.
Yeah, and we can also be extremely, extremely unpleasant and just go b5 and say hello to that knight on b8.
Yeah.
No moves.
It's a catastrophe.
Yeah, it's just a catastrophe. Yeah, and after knight d7, yeah, we can go c6 and b5 and just get this entombed. Yeah, I guess the only chance for black is to play b5 themselves using the pin, trying to create some problems that way. But you also, like, if you had the pawns on f7 and g7 and the king on g8, you know, I could maybe entertain some hopes of this working. But you're also kind of getting mated on the king side, you know, like something like this. Your problems are just everywhere. So I'm really not a believer in this.
Yeah, very difficult too. I mean, but it's so hard to imagine that how did he end up in this position? Yeah, this move 9 queen c7. He probably blundered this queen d4 move. I just don't understand. I mean, I can't.
Yeah, it's just such a difficult choice to explain. I think like it's hard to describe it that way because I think generally he is an incredibly stable player in terms of dealing with losses, being resistant to setbacks and all that. But you have to wonder if losing game 3 kind of shook him a little bit because he's not been himself in this game. Queen c4 chosen by Arjun, which is still good, but
okay, now at least knight e5 exists, right?
Knight e5, I guess he wants something like this with knight g5 check threats, but
yeah,
it's still very strong. Still very strong. Yeah, knight e5 played. Queen e4. Okay, he wants those threats as well.
Yeah, so many tempting options.
Rook a8, e8. Yeah, f4 and then c6 looks pretty good. It's probably not how I would have treated it, but his position is so good that he's making healthy choices and his position remains extremely promising. In the meantime, Kramnik is 2 pawns up, and also after queen c4 continuing to win material. This game is basically over. For a second there, I was worried I'm blundering mate, right? But we control the h6 square. Unfortunately for Grigori, we control the h6 square. So we're just a full rook up after queen takes h6.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, and then if you can't go for those types of tactics, something like bishop f4 next move will just win the entire chess set. So I think this game is ending. And Vincent in a must-win game, this has gone not great since we last saw this.
Yeah, he opted for g takes f6. I mean, I believe that this was a very bad choice. I mean,
and in a way, you remember there was this position yesterday against Georg Meyer, that game, where he had a choice of closing the king side, and he opened the g file because he felt in a must-win game, I must open files next to the opponent king. And that was the beginning of the game going in a very bad direction. And it's sort of similar.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, now his position is bad. I mean, even if you aren't really getting mated on the queen side, like you have all kinds of problems. h4 is like in endgames, your pawn on h4 will be weak. Your king on b1 is now much weaker than the king on h8 because of the presence of this pawn on a3.
Yeah, the pawn on f2 is a big problem.
And like if this ever happens, you kind of resign. So, and you can't even play queen takes c4 because knight g3 wins on the spot. Like rook takes f2 is also strong, but knight g3 just wins. Yeah, Vladimir's game finished, so I assume he either won or maybe his opponent offered a draw, which is the same.
No, I think you just resigned there. I don't believe. And okay, Vincent actually went for knight h6. It's a move that at least makes sense.
Yeah, he at least trying to get some of his pieces to better squares. But you can actually still aim the knight towards d5.
But okay, knight g5?
Knight g5, yeah. Yeah, at least it stops it for now.
Okay, maybe some tactic works for you. Yeah, knight d5, knight takes e4, and then just move the queen away to e7, and I mean all the tactics.
Yeah, this is fine for black, but you've maybe achieved something as white here because some of the endgames have improved because the pawn on e4 is no longer on the board. Yes. We'll return to this. In the meantime, this is the position in Eric Gaisi Abdusatorov. After rook a8, he played f4 and c6 as expected. b5 is a very good move here, preventing b5 and also opening up this check. But the knight on h3 is doing a very good job protecting us against this fork. We just need to solve the issue of dealing with this knight. And then
I mean, my original thought was like, okay, I feel like black is making some progress. Yeah, that this queen on b6, knight on g4 at least gives some play, but the d file is decisive.
Yeah, because you can't really add any more pieces to this, let's call it attack, right? This is your attacking material. So I can play something like rook d7 or rook d6, and there's just no way to include those guys in whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And eventually white will find a way to play, I don't know, queen d4, or somehow cover the f2 square and go knight somewhere in the h3 if you play f5. And once that happens, your entire counterplay is gone, and white is going to enjoy having an extra pawn on c6. Arjun is still thinking, though, and getting closer to serious time trouble. He's doing okay on the clock as well, but it's not a lot of time.
But I also like that he takes time, yeah, because sometimes people rush in winning positions and then regret it later. Now, and he opts for rook d7. He calculated everything. He advances the rook to the 7th rank. Looking very good.
Rook d7, rook f7. Yeah, rook takes d7 is not really a threat. We don't have to react. We can play queen f3 for now. Ask the question, do you want to play h5, for instance, or f5, giving us some squares? Yeah,
you don't want to play rook ed1, yeah? You don't want to reinforce.
Sure, yeah, also pretty good, yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, it would be very low. Of course, this queen fc, if it's good, it's very smart, yeah. But rook ed1 played. It's more natural.
Yeah, I think supporting the rook on d7 in general. Like this is a move you make sort of by hand. f5 I think is the right response, trying to at least get the knight to f6, trying to get rid of the rook on d7. But that also signals a complete switch to defense for black, because you will have to play knight f6 next move, and that will end all of your dreams of ever creating a threat of knight f2. And thank you for the raid, the Future Leagues. h6. That seems slow. I understand the desire to stop knight g5 from happening, but I don't think we have the time for that.
Well, for the moment, rook f7, king f7, rook d7 can be met by rook e7.
Yeah, the question is, can we play c7 here or not?
Yeah. Well, I was hoping to get some mating threats, but
there's weirdly everything is covered, right? This is the problem for Nordebek here, is that this is not a threat. It looks like a threat, but it isn't one. And white will just stabilize. Like you can play queen d4, but this is still not a threat. Maybe queen d1 is like borderline a bit of a threat now. But I can even, we're so much material up that I can even just go knight g1 and take on f2 and, very, very happily and very easily win this position.
Yes.
And if you don't play rook e7, I think you just get mated, right? If you play king g8, I'm pretty sure queen c3 is just mate. I provoke e5, I go queen b3, I go queen f7, I will be the one giving mate in this position.
Yeah, meanwhile, the situation has clarified in Vincent's game. Dennis has everything under control. He has the draw in hand.
Yeah. In a must-draw game, this is very, very easy. Like you're not winning with black, but you have this mechanism of creating a mating threat and going back to b2. So in order not to repeat the moves here, you have to give up on a2. But if you have to give up on a2, you're also not winning this game ever.
Yes, I think it's probably even too premature. I mean, okay, battle already to make. I understand draw brings you nothing, but you just can't play this for a win already.
Yeah, king c1, rook takes a2 is not a winning attempt. So yeah, Vincent maybe will nothing to lose as well. So you might as well continue. But yeah, just king g7. You don't have to hurry. King g7. You wait for the people to start moving, and then you go rook b2. Black is arguably maybe a little bit better even, but
yeah, I mean,
it doesn't
basically, I
matter.
feel like, okay, like this, white is just throwing away the game. I understand it's not important, but still, it's a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. This has become unclear.
Wow.
Noribek did not take on f7. He played rook 1 d6, and after knight f6, he was apparently still winning with the move queen g3 here, but he didn't play it. He played this, and this is now just completely unclear. In fact, after queen takes c6, black is supposedly better because you can't actually take on g6, you get mated. Well, not mated.
What a turnaround.
You know what I mean, yeah. No, this is a massive, massive turnaround if queen takes c6 happens, because strategically black is doing very well.
Yeah,
White's
now with 1
structure-
minute each, black can even win this.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Noribek has been very much allowed back into the game here, and yeah, he will be very interested now.
Yeah, first time clock in the under control and also the position.
Mm.
Once he made that horrible mistake with queen c7.
Yeah, Vincent's game is a draw, so congratulations to Denis Lazovic, who progresses to the winner's semifinal tomorrow, where he will be playing against the winner of the game we're just watching. And in the other winner's semifinal, we will have MBL against Kramnik.
Wow.
Good lineups. Good. I will continue. I will continue pointing out these are good lineups.
Yeah, and I think that probably Dubov will face Vincent then in the losers bracket as well.
Probably, yeah. And queen e3 is, continuing the very unfortunate sequence for Arjun, because queen c3 seems playable in response, and then you're being pushed back. Because I think queen takes a7, rook c7 just does nothing whatsoever, and you're in a lot of trouble suddenly with everything hanging.
On the board,
Yeah.
queen c3.
Yeah, queen c3 played. Yeah, queen a7 almost loses. You have to do something else. You probably have to play something like knight d3, but then knight e4 exists. You can also throw in queen a1 check first and then put the knight on e4. Rook d3 played. But now we can just take on c2.
Sotidis actually highlighted that, yeah, Vincent plays with Dreyev. So
Mhm.
Sotidis knows it better. But okay, let's focus. 5 seconds for Arjun.
Yeah, Noribek is just going to win this. It's a bit of a surprise he didn't play queen c1 check. I think if he plays queen c1 check, he always wins. But against 5 seconds, against 5 seconds, maybe hard to judge. Yeah, this is a bit erratic from both of them. This is very nervy. H5, queen f4 is a massive threat in the context of, practical solutions. You don't want to allow the queen trade. Now, it's interesting what he plays here, because queen f4 is, g4 is good. G4 is good, denying some squares. And now, if he finds f4, the game is over. But
on the board,
these guys are very, very good at chess. And then you just take on like king h3, you just go gf. He sees it. He sees it. And there are no checks from d3. So this is just a queen,
No, this is a terrible heartbreak for Arjun.
Yeah, Arjun after coming back very, very strongly, winning game 3 pretty much on demand and having a very good game in game 4. I mean, I think specifically here, he was basically winning by force. Take on f7, go rook d7, check, play c7. Just make sure you don't blundering anything in this position, but you really aren't. It's a pretty safe position to discuss, and then you just consolidate and win. And not even make a draw from here with white pieces is going to hurt.
But okay, I mean, to be fair, if already this position, probably you have to find the force win to justify everything, yeah? But if we step back 5-6 move before, white was pawn up, had everything under control. Black had absolutely zero counterplay.
Mm-hmm.
It was a miracle that the game is even on move 16, for example, after b4. Let's just get that position back. I mean, if anyone can imagine that black has won this game and advanced, that's just insane.
Yeah, it doesn't look very probable against a player of Arjun's strength. You would assume that, like, he wins, I don't know, 8 out of 10 from here, and the other 2 he doesn't lose. So, yeah, it's a huge turnaround for him to actually get knocked out of the winner's bracket from this position with the scores level. Let's try to. I think Satiris kind of has the bracket. It's not very clear in my head, like, who plays who in the losers. Yeah, there it is. There it is on our screen. Let me just consult the screen for a second.
Yeah,
my stream
I have
is
it.
very,
I have
very
it.
far
Yes,
behind.
exactly. Vincent plays against Dreyev, and Erigaishi plays against Yuan-Ji. That's what I have here. And on the winners bracket, it is, as you mentioned, Abdusatov against Lazovic and Maxim Vachilagraf against Vladimir Kramnik.
Yeah, and we know which one we're starting with tomorrow because, yeah, that's one of the all-time favorite matchups. They know each other really, really well, Maxim and Vladimir. They worked together for a while, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun for us to watch it tomorrow. Also, spare a thought for Vladimir, who, after winning this match against Grigory Aparin, will now go to the fancy studios of the Armageddon tournament and play Daniil Dubov. So there's more chess for him. There is more chess for him to enjoy today and potentially tomorrow. Like, he will take his match against Dubov very seriously. He will want to progress in that tournament as well. So potentially he will be multi-tabling tomorrow as well, which is quite an achievement.
I might have tricked you because there is still maybe Dubov versus Anish Giri in the losers bracket as well. I mean, both of the gentlemen has won their match, or they are waiting for the winners. I don't know.
No, I think they're waiting for the winners. Yeah, I think they're waiting for the. That's weird, right? How does
that's
that
weird
work?
Because it can't really be that they are waiting. I mean, they lost one match and they won one match.
Yeah, I get very confused by exactly who plays who once the tournament progresses a bit further, but we'll see tomorrow. I think the easiest way for us to describe it is, don't forget to tune in same time tomorrow, and we will tell you who plays who, because by that point we will know for sure.
And we will have anyway plenty of action. That's guaranteed. All these dramas. I mean, what kind of roller coaster comebacks, like Abdusatov winning that match at the end of the day against Arjun Erigaishi. Okay, it was an incredible turnaround.
Absolutely. Tomorrow there will be even more action, even in terms of simply the number of games, because more people will continue dropping down in the lower bracket, and the lower bracket will have to play more than the one match that they played today. So do tune in. We still have 3 days to go in this tournament, and it's we're getting closer and closer to the business end, where everything will get decided. And I'm assuming the formula stays the same, and the 2 winners get to play Division 1 in the next one, right? So there's plenty at stake at the top. So should be a fantastic 3 more days of chess. And we hope to see you with us for the conclusion of this.
Exactly. I mean, basically, let's not forget, first place reaches the Division 1, $10,000, and some 50 points of tour points are for grab. Yeah, there you have it. I mean, so much to play for and fight for.
Absolutely. Really enjoying covering this. It's a little bit hectic because there's so much stuff going on everywhere, but that's sort of how we like it. I think both you and I, we having enough chess to talk about is always fun, and I hope you're enjoying our coverage. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, with hopefully more of the same. Thanks very much for tuning in, and it would be unfair not to mention that there's also Division 1 going on, which has started by now. So probably go watch those gentlemen. They are pretty good at chess as well.
Exactly. Go watch that, guys. Yeah, Division 1 is on, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Yep. See you then.
It doesn't look like much, but neither would a Sicilian defense to the untrained eye. This is a performance enhancer. You don't see it. How about now? Manage your air quality, sharpen your performance, change the game with Air Things.
Time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Move Trainer empowers you to go from the opening to the end game with confidence. It's a seamless, effective, and fun way to study chess. Choose from one of the largest online chess libraries in the world, with hundreds of titles ranging from classic books through to our exclusive Chessable courses, including over 100 free courses. Get expert insights from International Master John Bartholomew, Grandmaster Sam Shankland, International Master Christoph Sielecki, Grandmaster Simon Williams, World Champion Magnus Carlsen, and hundreds of other instructors. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts at chessable.com. Chessable, take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
Welcome everybody.
My name is Jan Nepomniachtchi, former world chess champion.
Are starting a new course here for Chessable.
A very special Chessable course.
Master your chess with Judith Polgar.
You know what? I learned a lot.
This is John. John loves to study chess. This is David. David loves to study chess as well, but efficiently. John spends more time setting up the board and figuring out what's on the page of his book than he gets to study. David likes to take it easy and use his time wisely. David has finished his exercise for today. John should try the same.
Introducing WorldQuant, the partner of the Champions Chess Tour and Chess.com. WorldQuant is a global firm in the field of quantitative asset management. If you don't know what that is, it's the job of building complex mathematical models that seek to identify market inefficiency. For 2023, WorldQuant Brain is bringing together its International Quant Championship and the award-winning Champions Chess Tour to hunt down the next generation of quant finance specialists.
It sounds very exciting. You put your skills in practice in a case competition where you get a real challenge. And I signed up.
WorldQuant is seeking new talent and new energy, and it's looking at the world of chess to help. Because nobody knows how to analyze a position better than a chess player, right? No quant experience? No problem. So, do you think you have what it takes to compete in the International Quant Championship? Sign up and be the next quant champion.